let's get this started. What the hell? Let's do this. Hello, everybody. Guess what? We got another radio show tonight. Yeah, we do. You know why? Because it's only Tuesday, and we haven't really turned up the jets just yet. We're only heading into second gear here so far. And I am, if you don't know who I am, I'm the guy on the radio, Dave Scott. And you can admire my hair and my naturally manicured beard if you want. If not, well, just don't. It's real simple. Real simple. Let's give a shout out to everybody who is here so far tonight. I know we have Brett Lewis here, which means we can officially start the show. Hi, gorgeous Kimberly. Hi, stunning Renee. Brad Smith, good to see you here, man. Alan, good to have you here. The luscious Larry. Yes, new name, Luscious Larry is here, everyone. Hello, gorgeous Becky Belling. Thank you for coming on in. Cosmic, good to have you here. Steph Dickey, how's the gorgeous one in Florida doing? Let us know. Hi, Cat Chaser. Thank you for coming on back. Noble Patrick, how you doing, man? Thank you for coming on in. The Philip Blair, everyone. Yes, the Philip Blair is here. It's good to have you here. Nomad, what's going on, man? Thank you for coming on in. And let's scroll down here. Worsley, there you are. Calling me beautiful in the chat room already. I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you so much. I'm feeling beautiful tonight. And Bee's Nest, always a pleasure to have you here. Yes, it is. Not going to lie. We like our Bee's Nest around here. Princess Denali, the official princess of Spaced Out Radio. She's arrived. Red carpet and all. Ronald Penton, the Ronald Penton is here. But he's stepping out. But he'll be back later. Who else we got? Scrolling down. Where am I here? All right. Gorgeous Becky Belling. And we have another Becky here. The gorgeous and talented Manitoba Becky as well. Double Becky all the time. Right here on Spaced Out Radio. Millennium, good to see you here. Steam Train Mark, let us know how tomorrow is looking since you live in the future. And let us know if we're alive. We'd appreciate that here in North America. Nuck, how you doing, man? Nate Foot, good to see you here, brother. Opa de Greco, good to have you here. Vin, how you doing, Vinster? Dave Olay, where were you last night? Bob Acrylic, not Bob Plastic. Bob Acrylic is here. Go 66, good to see you here. Ibarata, how are you, my friend? Thank you for coming on in. Hi, gorgeous Jenny. And I think I'm caught up. I do. I think I'm caught up. Hi, Lynn. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you, Dave?
I'm pumped
Thank
up.
Thank you for having me.
I am so pumped
Nice.
up for tonight. You know, usually, I'm going to tell the audience a little secret here, as I told you. Usually, I prepare for guests, get a bunch of notes together, so that way I don't look stupid on the radio, okay? But sometimes I am just so into a story that I don't want to research it because I want to experience it the exact same way as our audience does. Tonight is one of those nights here, and I personally think they're very special nights. And let me tell you why before we get to on air here in about 2 minutes. It's because sometimes I like to get that fan reaction too. And when we get to those real stories like we are tonight with Lynn, I really don't want to know a damn thing about it. I want to learn just like you guys. I want to be able to ask those real honest questions that just flow off of hearing this story for the first time. So I'm going into this story just as dark as many of you out in YouTube land, and sometimes it's just better. You can critique me. If I suck afterwards, you can critique me on that. I don't think we're going to suck here tonight because this is a treat. Lynn, I am pumped up.
Woohoo!
I'm even kicking my shoes off for this one.
Oh, boy.
Yes. Yes, I am. All right. We have about a minute and a half here. And let's see here. Gorgeous Jules, good to have you here. Oob to Joe's Maine. You've got aliens. Hey, Lance, how are you, man? Fast Hemi, good to see you. Theodora, you are looking tantalizing tonight. Tantalizing Theodora. There she is, everyone. Reverend Keith, I'll give you an amen. Amen. There we go. Love my Reverend Keith. Love my Reverend Keith. Excuse me. Chris Jarvis, good to have you here. All right. Well, we're about 30 seconds away, everyone. 30 seconds. Let's start to get ready here, shall we?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. All right. Just a reminder, Super Chat is open. I know last night a bunch of you went a little wonky, but, that's okay. If you want to do it again, you can. Hit that subscribe button if you don't mind. You can do a little shopping on our website, the SOR Vault. And here we go in 5 seconds, everyone. We're going to have a great night tonight. I hope you enjoy this as much as I do. Mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by CHIVE Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting CHIVE Charities today. You can find them on our website. We often look to chase the paranormal, running into haunted grounds, hallowed cemeteries, looking for that thrill of adventure. However, for some out there, the paranormal isn't very fun at all. It's completely terrorizing. Let's meet our guest tonight, author Lynn Monet, whose book Omnipresent, which can be found on Amazon, Google, everywhere. It's a true tale of what it's like to endure the dark side of spirits, ghosts, and even demons. The book details the story of how her family endured these horrors of living in a haunted house. Her website, lynnmonet.com. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Lynn Monet, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm very excited for you to be here as well because I love stories like yours. I do. And just in time for Halloween to have you booked this close, I'm pumped up. I've been pumped up for this one since last night's show ended, and I think this is going to be a beauty, Lynn.
Well, I hope so. I hope that it also brings some enlightenment to people. That's part of my intention, and that was my intention with writing my book.
Lynn, let's learn a little bit about you. Before you started having these encounters in your home, and we're going to get deep into this tonight, what did you know about the paranormal?
Well, when I was a little girl, about 5 years old, I was able to, which is common with children between a newborn and age 5, to be able to see interdimensionally. And of course, the kids talk about their invisible friends and things like that sometimes. But in my family, growing up in the late...
Oh, where did he go? Did the ghosts get us already? Seriously. What happened there? At least a ghost could give us a little bit of a warning here. What's going on? I don't even know. Weird. I'm going to have to call her back. Like the phone line just went completely dead. Try it again. See if she picks up.
4.
No. All right. Well, that's not going to work. That's not going to work at all. All right. This is why we get a second phone number here. you know? And we know, just from personal experience here, it's not aliens, because she doesn't have aliens. She's got ghosts. Ghosts are already playing here. See if we got her here. You can just hear it. There's the ring. Isn't it weird? Good start to a paranormal show with the phone cutting out. What else is going to happen? Maybe she doesn't want to tell her story. I don't know. She's not answering her cell phone. I'll guarantee you she's got her ringer off. All right, so that went to voicemail. We'll try the other number again. Honestly, this is kind of exciting. Just about to get into some paranormal talk here. My goodness, I can't get a hold of her. I could not get a hold of her. This is weird. Strange. We'll just wait a little bit here. So Lynn's story, if you want to find her book, it's called Omnipresent. And it's a story of her own family's experience. I don't want to give up too much here because I want her to tell it. I hope she didn't lose power or something. Maybe there was a lightning storm or an accident or, a 70s party hotline on her phone. See if we can get her cell phone again.
Hello?
There you are.
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know. I've been trying to get a hold of your on your home phone, and it just keeps going to some weird voicemail kind of thing.
I'm not surprised that happens sometimes, but not with the phone. Sometimes demons and things like that don't like being talked about. Do you want to call me back on the landline, or do you want me to use this phone?
Let's go here until this goes. We got a good connection.
Okay, good.
So let's go back.
Alrighty.
Let's reverse. We're gonna reel in the fishing line here. All right, and if you actually saw me, I'm actually reeling in, like I would. And what did you know about the paranormal before all of this weird stuff started happening?
Well, I kind of had the ability when I was a child to see interdimensionally. At around age 5, of course, I would talk about seeing things within the household, but my parents would get upset with me a lot of times, and they didn't want this information to get outside into the community. That it was one of those families with a child with issues. So it was squelched pretty much in the home. And then as I got a little bit older, around age 10, traditional religion kind of went into play, and I was being told that what I was seeing, whether it was good or bad, was demonic, and I was being told that because of my ability to see spirit, that I was going to go to hell. And of course, the going to hell thing and the demon thing scared the bejesus out of me as a 10-year-old, and I learned very quickly to not talk about it anymore. And I also tried very, very hard to ignore my ability, and so that I would appear normal. And that kind of went along okay until I purchased this house in 2005, and where I was continuously exposed to demonic presences and also a spirit of a young man that had hung himself in the house. And it just blew that interdimensional ability to see that way, to see interdimensionally wide open.
That is absolutely strange. You were a weird kid.
Yeah.
Not going to lie, you're a weird kid. But I mean that with all due politeness.
Yeah, the thing is it's a very, very common, psychological studies have even shown that it's very common that children between newborn and age 5 don't have certain filters in play, psychological filters in play. And this allows them to see interdimensionally, and a lot of times you'll hear a child talking about an invisible friend. Those same filters also, on the flip side, when a person is getting closer to their time to cross over, those filters start to efface, and it's another reason why a person may be with a loved one that is actively passing or getting close to that time frame, and they start talking about seeing people, family, members and relatives of the family that these people that are embodied also have been familiar with, but they know that they're dead, and all of a sudden this loved one that's getting ready to pass is now seeing these things in the room and talking to them. People, of course, flip out and they think that it's hallucination, but, it's actually true that Uncle Bob is standing there in the room with them, and they just need to say hello instead of thinking that the person is flipping out. But with that being said, at around age 5, things kind of shift a little bit. Some of those filters start to come into play, but prior to that, they are wide open.
Unbelievable. Did you grow up in a religious family, and that's why there was this fear of anything paranormal?
It wasn't so much that they were religious. We were Presbyterian. It's just that, back in that era, it was all about, the common phrase was the Joneses. Everybody, didn't want the Joneses to know, so to speak, or you didn't want to be different. I mean, if you had a kid that was seeing things, they needed to be in a nut house. So people they didn't want to have that stigma on the family. If my family didn't want to have the stigma on the family because they had a child that had the ability to see interdimensionally.
Unbelievable. So when you were going through this as a child, that had to be frustrating for you.
It was, because, and this is one of the things that I have written in my book as well that is very unique. In the back, there is a self-help section, and it talks about, children and how they're affected by these spiritual, things in the house. A lot of times when a house is haunted, the children know it before the parents do. And the worst thing that a parent can say to a child is, there's nothing there. You're not seeing what you're seeing. There's nothing there. And the kid's sitting there looking, and they're saying, yeah, but there is. There's somebody standing there next to you, and he's got no head. And also parents coming back and saying to their child, for instance, oh, well, it's your Aunt Lulu coming to watch over you, or your guardian angel. Well, if it was really their Aunt Lulu or their guardian angel, it wouldn't be scaring them to death by shaking their bed and pulling off their covers in the middle of the night. So it's really, really important for parents to determine when their child consistently talks about an invisible friend, or consistently talks about seeing the same images over and over, not like pink elephants climbing on the wall, but like, for instance, a particular person or a particular couple of people that they may see. The main thing that the parent needs to ask is, are these visitors making you feel uncomfortable, or asking you to do something that you're not supposed to? Because a lot of times demons will approach people and posing as something other than what they are. They can pose as a child. They can pose as somebody familiar to them. They can even mimic sound and voices. So that's very important with the child, and not to tell the child that nothing is there. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there. And to give them some ways to empower themselves, give them a little prayer, give them a song to sing that is a spiritual thing, like a prayer that would kind of move the negative energy away, and to tell them that it's okay to tell the thing, I don't want you here, leave now. Call on Jesus Christ, call on, Archangel Michael if you're Catholic, whatever you need to call on, but to command the thing to leave, and give them that empowerment, so that, they have tools to work with, and not telling them that there's nothing there, or trying to make it okay when it's not.
That sounds very enlightening for a lot of people who have never gone through this before. And we have a lot of listeners who are in that situation. They're listening because they're curious. They're listening because they don't know what it's like to have hauntings around you. Now, previous to you moving into this house from hell, did you ever have any paranormal experiences?
Not anything to that degree. I always was able to see out of my peripheral vision. Every once in a while I would catch something. But of course, I just kind of let it go as a fleeting thought because, again, I thought that it was part of some of the leftovers from my childhood. And of course, I had been repeatedly told there's nothing there, it's your imagination. And then I went to school and I became a nurse, and I'm, working, going through the psychiatric ward with people with schizophrenia and things like that. So, I shut it down so that I would seem more normal, and I didn't really talk about it with anybody.
Okay, so did your family ever admit to having any type of entities or encounters previous to this home?
No, but the home that I grew up in definitely had some issues in that house. Definitely. I mean, the pans would rattle in the kitchen when I'd be sitting in the living room with my mother visiting, and we'd be hearing the cabinets open and close. So there were some issues in that house, but nobody talked about it. And again, when you did bring it up, like I said, I would, get in trouble for it. I would actually get yelled at for it.
Really? Why the anger? Why the haste towards you? I mean, we're supposed to, as children, be able to go over to our parents and say, this is what's happening. This is what I'm seeing.
It was a different time frame then. And I think that the parents were afraid also. And if they had to be supportive of their child and the child's gifts, then they would have to admit that this sort of thing exists. And it was easier to cohabitate with the spiritual realm by ignoring that it was there, because it was just too creepy to think about and scary. So, everybody would be sleeping with their lights on if they kind of had to admit that to themselves back then. And also, they didn't want to be seen as different or crazy. So I think that's part of the reason why parents back then were not as supportive of things, as more of them are becoming enlightened and becoming more supportive now. Okay,
did you think of yourself as having any psychological problems or crazy?
No. Mm-mm. No, not other than normal crazy. I mean, my friends might beg to differ, but it just in a normal crazy way, like all of us are sometimes, in a funny way. But no, I always knew that there was something more to there was even something more to religion. There was something more to the spiritual realm. I never really dabbled in any kind of like Ouija boards or anything, which I don't recommend anybody doing, because that kind of opens a whole bunch of portals and channels of things that you may not be able to close and may not be able to put back in there what comes through. So, but back in that time frame too, there was always the black lights and the wild posters on the wall and things like that, and things that were kind of creepy, but yet people didn't go beyond that, as far as spiritual things or ghosty type things. Even if things did happen, people didn't talk about it.
I grew up in a household like that too, where kids weren't acknowledged, and we just don't talk about those types of things. Everything was always small talk. It sounds like you pretty much had the same way of growing up like I did.
Yes, children were seen and not heard.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So were you not allowed to sit on certain furniture too?
Yes. Oh my gosh. We weren't allowed in the living room unless we were fresh out of the bathtub, because the carpet was white and the couch was too. Who in their right mind would put white carpeting and white couches in a house with kids? Hello. I mean, really. So yeah. Nope.
Our place,
not allowed to.
Our place where we were banned, where it was the living room and the dining room. Not allowed to play there.
Oh wow.
Nope, not allowed. Old Phyllis there, she'd get a little cranky if she came home and saw my Hot Wheels in those areas, or even, heaven forbid, sitting on the couch reading a book. Oh, it was hell to pay. Right. Yeah, then it got
Yes,
real
same thing.
paranormal.
Yes, same thing, same thing. We had to stay playing in our rooms. There was a patio area that we could go out and play on, but we were not allowed to, like you said, play in the dining room or the kitchen or the family room for that matter, when that got added on. So, yeah, same thing, same exact thing.
Oh, goodness. I was allowed out of the room, but I just wasn't allowed, in those couple of rooms there. It was difficult. It was very, very difficult. I'm not going to go any further than that. But we've only got about 3.5 minutes before we have to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, author Lynn Monet is our guest tonight. Her book, Omnipresent. Lynn, let's start to lead up to where we're going to go in the next half hour, and that's where you're going to introduce us to the haunted house that you lived in. What did you know about haunted houses previous to this home?
Well, I had been in denial so much after my childhood that also I was had gotten into some kind of new agey religion that believed that, universally that you couldn't be affected by these things, that it was universal law, that did not allow these sorts of things. And I had gone the Christian route also, and I felt that I was protected and didn't believe in these sorts of things. So when this transpired, I was in denial for a very long time, and rationalizing things. And my children and their friends were actually the ones that saw the things way before I was willing to admit it.
Did you see any apparitions?
In that house?
No,
yes.
Previous to that, though.
Not bad ones. I mean, I would catch things out of the corner of my eye, and I would see them in full form. I could even tell you what they were wearing, because most of the time spirits do show up in clothes. They don't show up naked. Well, I have had one show up naked, but anyway, but for the most part, they show up the way that you would remember them last, or the way that they were on Earth before they passed. And a lot of times they're busy doing the same old things that they were doing when they were embodied here. The one thing about haunting that people don't think about is they always think of an old house as something that is haunted. But what I learned in all of this is that it's not the age of the house, it's the age of the ground that it's built on. So a brand new house can be haunted if the house is built in the wrong place.
Well, you know what? We're going to learn more about that and so much more from you, because when we come back from the break in about 90 seconds, we're getting into Omnipresent. I got to learn about these ghosts. They've already cut off our phone line once.
Yes, they have.
I got to tell you, I'll tell you a true story here. All right. I interviewed a guy named Anthony Kenyatta a couple of years ago, like 3-4 years ago. And he has this haunted doll that he called Harold, who says has the spawn of Satan inside of him. And he says to me point blank, he goes, Dave, sometimes there's weird stuff that happens during the show. Phones will hang up or whatever. And, I've been through that. I mean, Skype really isn't the best phone line out there, but that's what we use. Long story short, 45 minutes into the show, I see something out of the corner of my eye. So put my microphone on mute as Anthony starts speaking. I kind of turn my head ever so slowly, and there is a cloaked figure standing about 1.5 feet from my shoulder, at about 4.5, maybe 5 feet tall, very thin, much like if you would hang a coat on on a child's hanger, how it would just be real small, and it stood there, and then it disappeared. I watched it disappear. So weird stuff has happened.
Yep.
Weird stuff has happened. Yeah.
Yep.
So let's just leave it there. Let's just leave it there, okay? Because I kind of ate that time up. I apologize. I'm a big mouth. Lynn, you sit tight. We're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Author Lynn Monet, her website, lynnmonet.com. Monet, M-O-N-E-T. She goes the French route there. Find her books on Amazon. I Am Omnipresent is what it's called. Let's find out about the haunted house from hell next, shall we? Let's do this thing together. Get in some ghosts, paranormal, some spooky stuff coming up next on the Mighty SOR. All right, we're clear.
Okay. Did you want to call me back on my phone, or do you want me to continue to stay on the cell phone?
We're good right now if you're okay with it.
I am okay with it. I am. You know, around Halloween every year, the veil between our dimension and the other dimension gets very, very thin. So the spirits become much more active. So that's why I was mentioning. I'm not surprised that the phone got. They really don't want to be talked about. So.
Oh, we're getting into them.
Like
we're gonna send some. We're gonna send some Dave energy over to them, because.
There you go. Bring it on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bring it on. Am I coming out across okay?
You are coming around beautifully. Beautifully.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, good.
Fabster, what the hell is going on, dude? The Dodgers. Oh, yes, your Dodgers won the World Series, man. Yes, have a beer for Dave. You know, 32 years, man. 32 years since Tommy Lasorda put Kurt Gibson in Game 1 for that beautiful home run, and now you're winning the World Series again. Hey, Kevin, how are you? Thank you so much again for the super chat, Papster. I really do appreciate that, man. All right. That's just amazing.
Oh, something just fell down here. I knocked it down, though.
Oh, sure. Aliens. You got aliens, too? You got some aliens over there?
I have in fact seen aliens before in my practice as a nurse. I have seen them. As a matter of fact, Lynn Monet was I was watching one of her podcasts and asked her the question if you know, she felt that aliens kind of are intermingling amongst us in human form, and she's like, why are you asking me that? So there's a little story with that too.
Well, we'll get into that at the back end of the show. I'll just ask you. The last half hour, we'll change it up, and because I want to focus this next hour on and a bit here on your book and on the experiences you guys had, and then in the next hour too, we're going to take some audience questions there, so it'll be good.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm also writing a second book, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this one is actually on the act of dying, death, and afterlife. Some of the things with my ability to see interdimensionally, the gifts that I've been left with that way, I've been able to see both sides of the veil as someone, in a medical sense, as someone is actively transitioning into death, as well as what the preparations on the other side are with the loved ones that are awaiting the soul to cross over. So that this next book is about that.
1 second. That sounds excellent. When do you plan on having that one out?
Hopefully by fall of this coming year, if not sooner. It all depends on how long copyright takes with this COVID thing.
Right. Well, you make sure you make sure you let us know so Corrence, the booking guy, can get you back on the show next year.
Oh, I will, definitely. And also, if you ever need to fill in, you feel free to call me. I don't mind. So, you know, if ever somebody cancels or something and you want somebody to kind of, because I've got a lot of stuff. I mean, in that book also, I have a chapter on mental illness, on addiction, on aliens. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Absolutely. That's awesome. All right, we got about 45 seconds. Thank you to Fabster, big time, for the super chat. Really do appreciate that. Congratulations on your LA Dodgers winning the World Series. It's only been since, I think, I don't know. It's like 14 years and counting since my Yankees won. Don't like that. Don't like that at all. But you know what? Either way, it's going to be good. And big way to support this show. Give us a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Become one of our followers here on YouTube. We really appreciate it. And let's do a little bit of radio show thing happening here. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. Here we go. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in as we look to turn up the woo here on the show. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with author Lynn Monet. We are talking about her book, Omnipresent, which can be found on Amazon, major bookstores, on Google, everywhere, because she's damn good at what she does. Lynn, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you here. All right,
it's great to be here.
Let's go back in time. Let's go back in time a little bit here, because you got some ghosts to tell us about, some spirits, demons, and everything. Let's go back to when you moved into that house. How did that all come down?
Okay, let's see. It was in March of 2005. After a year-long search, as a single mom on a single mom income, I got a call from my realtor who called me and said that this house had just been listed. This house was just being processed through her office. A colleague of hers had just come back from taking pictures of this house, and it hadn't even been listed on the MLS yet. And her words should have resonated with me when she said to me that this house was in my price range and that it was just almost too good to be true. So she had asked me to meet her at her office, and I quickly went over there, and we drove to the home, and she had given me these papers to look through with the pictures of the house and everything. And it was this 2,400 square foot brick, 2-story split level house with 3 bedroom, 2 bath on the main floor, formal dining room, living room, nice kitchen with a nook. And then downstairs in the lower level, there was a large family room with a stone fireplace and a bonus room. It was like a 15 by 13 bonus room, and a double car garage that literally could fit 3 cars in it if you were to line them up, and a workshop. Beautiful, beautiful home on a half-acre Florida flat lot. And it just had so many things that I kept asking her. I said, did possibly the listing agent make a mistake on this price? Because this house could easily have sold for $100,000 more than what was being asked. And in addition to that, the realtor was telling me on the way there that the family that was selling the house had already moved out. So this was great. It made it move-in ready. And that they were wanting to sell the house because the husband had to transfer to another area for his work, and that they were not wanting to have to continue to pay for 2 homes. And so, again, this made it great as well. So when we, as we were driving to the house, I kept asking questions. I thought, oh, my gosh, for this price. I asked her, I said, will you please call and see if it's next to a dump? Or maybe, the neighbors have a sinkhole in their yard, or maybe it's near a stinky paper mill and the whole neighborhood smells bad. And it was none of those things. It was this beautiful home. When we turned in on the street, it was a dead-end street. It was in what I call a trick-or-treat neighborhood, which, puts the houses close enough that the kids can go from house to house and get a lot of candy, but yet, if you're sitting in your breakfast nook and you reach out your arm, you're not going to touch the side of the neighbor's house. And I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, does this house have indoor plumbing? I kept trying to rationalize how this house could be such a low price in an excellent area, excellent schools, low taxes. It was just really too good to be true. So when we pulled into the driveway, this house was more than I could even have hoped for. So many houses that I had looked for on my income, they needed repairs. They were not in a not so great area, and this house was none of those things. It was beautiful. So as we went up to the door, and the realtor got the keys out of the lockbox and was trying to put them into the lock, she kept having trouble, and she thought at first that maybe that they had put the wrong keys in the lockbox. And finally, it seemed like every time she would open her mouth to say, "Oh, well, I'm going to have to let the other realtor know that they left the wrong keys," and then she'd try one more time, and then the lock would open. And of course, the key turns out to be a key piece throughout all of the time that I owned the house that seemed to be a problem, and there's a reason. So anyway, she finally was able to open the door. And as I entered into the foyer, it being a split-level house, there were stairs descending and ascending, and I decided to go up the ascending stairs to the main level to look the house first. And the realtor's having trouble now getting the key back out of the lock or getting it to turn or anything. So I'm just kind of at the top of the stairs waiting for her. But as I am transitioning up those stairs, I can clearly see out of my peripheral vision a young man hanging in the stairwell.
Oh, goodness.
And of course, I was taken back. He was hanging. There was a wrought iron railing over the descending stairs that you would come up and meet with the ascending stairs. It was part of the railing, and he was hanging from that. And I remember catching this view, and I remember thinking to myself, why on earth would I even be thinking of something so horrible? Why would something like that even pop into my mind? And then it turned out after I had bought the house, the next door neighbor who had lived on the street, it was the very first house on the street even before the road was paved, and he was there when that house was built, told me that the original owner's son had in fact hung himself in the stairwell of that house while his parents were in an active divorce, and the mother came home from work and found him. So this did happen. This is what I saw. So the realtor, I didn't think of it again. The realtor walked me through the house, and of course, I was just enamored with the house. I wanted to make an offer that day because I realized, how many times I had gone and I looked at a house and I thought, well, I want to take a week to think about it, and then when I'd go back, it would be gone. So I didn't want to do that with this house. This was beyond my wildest dreams, but I did want to bring back my children that afternoon and have them walk through it with me. So she agreed to meet me again that afternoon at the house at around 3 o'clock, and I went and picked up my children from school, and I brought them with me, and of course they're all excited. How much longer till we get there? And we pulled in, and they got out of the car. They're running around the yard, and of course the realtor pulls up, and again we have problems with that lock. But then we finally got into the house, and as she and I are standing there talking, the kids are running down the hallway picking out their bedrooms, and I noticed that there was about 5 or 6 realtors cards on the counter. So the house had been listed on the MLS by then, and people were actively showing it. So after my kids had run all through the upstairs part of the house, they asked if they could go downstairs. Now, my son was 7 at the time, and my daughter was 13. So they went down the stairs, and within about 5 minutes, my daughter was back, and she said to me, she said, "Mommy, I do not want to move here." And at first I thought that I didn't hear her. And I asked her, I said, "What did you say?" And she repeated it again. And I said, "Well, how could you not? We've been living in a single wide trailer all this time with practically no yard. How could you not want to move in here?" And she told me, she said, "There is something weird about this house, and I do not want to live here."
Oh, goodness.
Well, of course, I should have listened.
But
I didn't.
But as a parent in that, and I can see why, because as a parent in that situation, you're thinking, okay, kids at that, especially teenage daughters at that point, at that age, they start to get, they start to get all flustered, like things aren't good enough for them. And here you are as a single mom, and you're like, this is my dream house. I can afford this. Like, that is a conundrum for you as a mom to be in.
Right. And I mean, I was so proud thinking with a single parent income that I could provide something so wonderful for my family. And I agree with you. I was thinking too that her reasoning might be because now all of a sudden it hit home that she was going to be moving away from her friends. And, I even tried to console her with the fact that, well, we're only 20, 25 minutes away, and you can bring them for the weekend. They can camp out, and then we'll take them home. So, but she was she was really adamant about it, and I was actually very embarrassed because I'm standing here with the realtor. This poor woman has drugged me around for over a year looking for a house, and now all of a sudden my daughter's standing there saying that she does not like the house. So I told my daughter, I said, well, this is not a decision for you to make. And I went ahead and I said a prayer, and I said, I'm going to make an offer on this house. I also found out that someone else that day had made an offer on the house. So I just said a prayer. I said, if it's meant to be mine, then they'll take my offer and I will get it. And lo and behold, the next morning, I did get the call that the seller had accepted my offer. So of course I'm dancing around the house. I'm thrilled, and all of the things that go, the emotion and things that go with that. But moving ahead, when the day came for the closing, I found that it was very odd that the couple, when they arrived, it turned out that they had not moved far away for his job. He was still working in the same place. They were just living 10 minutes from where the house was with one of their parents, either hers or his, with their children. And there was the story that I had originally been told didn't even apply. And I was talking to them, and I was so thrilled. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go ahead and have some wooden flooring put in because that light-colored carpet is just not going to go with kids. And the wife would not look at me. She stared at her feet the whole time. She would not make eye contact with me. And I even at one point kind of tried to bend to my side to look her in the face and get her attention. And when I told her that I was putting in the wooden flooring, she said to me, that's what we wanted to do, and still continued to stare at her feet. So with that being said, I know they knew.
She had some guilt.
That they knew.
She had some guilt. Yes. that as probably a mom herself, that she probably had some guilt that she was putting you and your children in some sort of danger. And, unfortunately,
Absolutely.
Money is the root of all evil, pun intended, in this situation.
Exactly. And, the thing is on the flip side of that, I've had people that have heard me on the radio, and they come back with comments like, how could you possibly have sold the house to somebody? And it is written in my book, and I will go ahead and I'll say this, yes, I did sell the house. However, the people on the flip side that I sold the house to, I was honest and asked them if they believed in ghosts, because something occurred. The wife was coming out of coming from the main level to the foyer to leave out of the double entry doors of this house, and I overheard her say to her husband, "Why did you push me?" And he said to her, he said, I didn't push you. And she said, yes, you did. And he said, I am 3 steps back from you. I did not push you. And she said, well, I don't know what happened. Well, of course, I knew what it was. So I went ahead, and they came out the door, and I said to them, I said, do you believe in ghosts? And they immediately cut me off, and they said, no, we're Baptists. We don't talk about those sorts of things. We don't believe in those sorts of things, and we're protected. I said, okay. I would have told them the truth if they had asked me. So I just want to get that up front. I didn't stick somebody with a house, and I had truly, truly hoped with all of what I had done in that house to try to take care of the issue, that finally it would have worked, and that these people, maybe since they weren't as sensitive as I was, or multiple things, maybe their religion was more protected for them, that they would have a good, happy, long life in that home. That was my intention. But I also knew that I couldn't sell it to a family with children because there were some other things that had occurred. There was so much that happened in that house. And just to throw in a little something, I want to tell everyone, I only spent 2 nights in that house. I owned it for 8 months. I only slept there twice. And people say, oh, well, my goodness, they think that I only lived there for 2 days. But what actually happened is after, when we closed on the house, it was in March of 2005. So my children were going to be getting out of school in May. And I didn't want to, with that only 8 weeks left of school, I didn't want to transfer them to the new school with, risking their papers getting lost and things like that. And since it was only a 25-minute commute, I went ahead and we stayed living where we were, and they finished up school while I went ahead and had renovations done on the house, and we were planning on moving in the summer so that, they could meet kids in the neighborhood and start fresh that year, in the fall, and not have to be dropped into school in the middle, in the tail end of the year. So, but it was during that time between March and May, the end of May, that we actually did spend 2 nights there, and some pretty dramatic things happened, and that's why we ended up not staying there. My furniture was totally moved in at one point, but everything got moved back out.
You couldn't handle it?
No.
Do you think that
no,
was...
you know...
Do you think that was
Sorry, go ahead.
in part because you were playing a dual role as mom and dad, and you're extra protective of your children at that point?
Well, the things that happened, and just a little blurb, there were some physical things that were happening. The worst thing that happened in that house is my very best friend was clawed to the point of bleeding on her stomach and her back while she stood next to me in the kitchen of that house. And I had 13 different denominations of religion come to the house. I had Catholic priests. That poor man, he was so frightened in that house that he was shaking. His Bible almost fell out of his hand, and he literally ran down the hallway squirting holy water into the bedrooms, and we were done in 10 minutes. He didn't say a word. I drove him back, and he couldn't get out of the car fast enough. He almost fell getting out of the car. Bless his heart. But he was so scared that the actual blessing was not effective, because these demons feed on that type of negative energy of fear and anger and depression and all of those things that they like to hang on to, so that they can increase their abilities and draw on that negativity. But the one thing that was the turning point for me was that I had a paranormal group from Georgia.
Well,
in the USA.
I want you to save that part, because I want to go into that in hour 2 about the paranormal groups, because, we've heard so many times from people such as yourself who've been guests on this show that have absolutely been railroaded by these paranormal teams, charging money and, stirring it up even worse than it's ever been. I want you to hold off on that, because we could go in a long ways on that. And I think it's important, because we only got about 5 minutes before we go to break here. I think it's important that we get a lot of time in on that, because for a lot of people out there who may be in your shoes or looking at buying a house or whatever, they may need to know what you went through and why you just don't call up the first paranormal team that's on Google when you search it.
Exactly.
So
exactly, and
I want to hold off on that.
And, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to kind of kill the story, but let's go back a little bit in time. Lynn Monet is our guest tonight. Let's go back in time to you buy the house. You're all excited. You move your furniture in. What's the first thing that happens?
Well, it was even before the furniture moved in. Of course, I had made mention about the thing with my daughter. But after we had closed on the house, we went over that first evening to have dinner. I brought taco making, so we were going to have a floor picnic since none of our furniture was going to be moved in until more towards the summer. And so as I'm preparing the dinner in the kitchen, my daughter comes to me and stands in the doorway, and she said, "What did you want?" And I said, "I didn't call you." And she said, "Yes, you did." And I said, "No, I didn't call you. I swear I didn't call you." And she said, "I swear you did." And then, of course, my son, who's 7, comes in, and he's now peering into the kitchen underneath my daughter's arm, and he said, "Yes, you did, Mommy. I heard you call her too." And so, and I hadn't. So I rationalized it, and I said, "Well, Brittany is a popular name. Perhaps, it's dinner time. There's another mom out in the front yard calling for her Brittany to come home and eat, and I'm sure that when we meet this Brittany that she'll make a nice friend for you." And I just kind of rationalized it. So we had packed up after dinner and left. I had also decided to pull some carpeting out on my own to save money. I wanted to be able to have money to put on a better quality of flooring, so I knew that I would need to do some of the work myself instead of paying for it, so I was ripping out carpet. But anyway, the very next day, I dropped my children off at school, and I came back to the house. And when I walked in, I went up the stairs to the main level into the kitchen and put my purse down, and I started to look around, and I noticed that the other light was on, and that the stove light was on, and that the light overhead was on. And I thought, well, I don't remember leaving any of this on yesterday, but maybe one of the kids ran back in and turned the light on, and I just didn't notice. So then I start going down the hallway, and every single room had the lights on. Every single room. Now, there was no furniture yet, so these were all ceiling fixtures. And I thought to myself, okay, wait a minute. Now, I know I did not leave all these lights on, and I know when I left that the house was dark. So I thought maybe that a neighbor had been entrusted with a key. So I went across the street. I introduced myself. I asked the new neighbors if anybody had been, that they knew of it, had been entrusted with a key, and they said no. And I explained that all the lights were on in the house, and did they notice any lights on in the house the night before? And they had said that they had taken a walk, and of course it was around still like daylight savings time, and or whatnot. The time frame where it was still kind of light later into the evening, and they had taken their walk, and they noticed that the walkway lights were on, but those are solar lights, so they would come on by themselves when it got dark enough. But they said that there were no lights on inside of the house. So I thought, well, this house sold so fast. Maybe a realtor didn't realize that it had been sold and came in and showed it before I got here and left the lights on, or was prepping it for showing. So I figured that eventually I would figure out why the lights were on. Maybe they were on timers. This was a new house to me. I didn't know, but I knew I was going to figure it out. So I went in and I started to pull up carpeting, and it was not a big deal. And I went ahead and I left that day, but I went all through the house and made sure this time that every single light was turned off. And when I went to leave, I was having trouble getting the deadbolt to turn in the lock. So finally I ended up having to open the door and hand lock the knob lock and shut it in order to leave. So I left, picked up my kids, dropped my kids back off at school the next day, came back by myself. And when I went to put the key into the knob lock, the door just opened. And I didn't even turn the key. I didn't turn the knob. I didn't anything. The door just opened inward. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe I didn't have it pulled into the door jamb tight enough, and that's why I was having trouble with getting the deadbolt to turn.
Right.
And so, again, I rationalized it. So I go into the house, and I go upstairs and into the kitchen. I've got a little bit more carpeting to pull up, and I wanted to, with the carpeting out, wanted to put a fresh coat of paint on the ceilings because it didn't look like the house was built in 1976, and didn't look like the ceilings had been freshened up since then. So
hold that thought right there. Okay, that's a good place to end it. So when we come back, we're going to find out about the ceilings that you want to paint and why this spirit had a real anger or obsession with the carpet in the house. Lynn Monet is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. The Haunted House from Hell, her book, Omnipresent, available on Amazon. LynnMonet.com is the website. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this. I love how you paint a picture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. Oh, I'm just on the edge of my seat. I'm just going to run my dogs outside. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts,
Be right back.
strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get BUMBLEFOOT?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblelicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Hey Space Travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little different. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
All right, Lynn, I'm back.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and
Okay.
Let me just throw my headphones on here. We got like 2.5 minutes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, having fun yet?
Yes, I'm having a great time. Now, how much longer do we have? Because I want to know where the leeway is, because I can, after this, kind of bring it into more when the activity just really increases.
Well, we'll get into that, and then we'll get into the paranormal stuff, like the paranormal team.
Okay, I mean, how much more time do we have, though? Is it an hour?
Well, we have an hour and a half left with you.
Perfect. Okay, good.
Yes. I'm excited.
Yeah, also I wanted to make mention too, at the end of my book, not only guides parents with their children, but there's also a self-help section in the back with a way that people can determine before signing on the dotted line, before moving in to a home, which is much easier to avoid moving into a haunted place than having to sign on the dotted line with a mortgage for 30 years and then get out.
Yes.
So this it has a step-by-step way to determine whether the house has unwanted guests into it or your business place before you actually sign on the dotted line.
You know what? I actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I just contacted my buddy who's a realtor in town, and I'm like, dude, I said, I don't care how long it takes. I want you to find me the most haunted piece of property here in town where I live.
Really?
Oh yeah, I got big plans to turn it into the SOR haunted bread and breakfast.
Oh, good. Yes. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you and I can talk off radio, and I can definitely give you some pointers. And you probably already know, but I'm just saying there are some simple ways to determine that. And there you go.
I'm pretty astute with that stuff.
Yeah, I figured you were. So, but for people that aren't, I mean, that helps out section is very simple and easy to use. Anybody can use it, and they can determine, whether there is something in the house or not.
All right, my friend, hold on. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Let's find it here. Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with author Lynn Monet. LynnMonet.com is her website. She's got a true book called Omnipresent, and this tells about real tales of a house she bought that was completely haunted and demonic. Lynn, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
So right before the break, you were talking about you were ripping up the carpets, you wanted to paint the ceiling, and weird stuff started happening.
Yes. That particular day, I'd gone back. My kids were not with me. Of course, the door opened itself, basically, when I went into the house. But the main thing that caught my attention was after I had put my purse down in the kitchen, I had walked to the sliding glass doors to open them because I wanted to aerate the house while I'm painting. And I noticed that the pin was dangling to the side, and the actual sliding glass door itself was unlocked. And I thought to myself, I could have sworn that I remembered that key, the pin being in its place. But I thought again, maybe one of my kids ran back and just didn't mention it, or I didn't notice it. I'm rationalizing again until I got downstairs into the garage area, because both of the garage doors were also unlocked. But again, I thought, well, I'm used to having a little clicky thing, not these manual jobbies, and maybe I unlocked it thinking that I was locking it. But there was a workshop inside of the garage, and I had come the day before and I had piled boxes. I am 5'9". These boxes came up to my chin, and they were at least 3 feet out from this door that I had shoved them up against. And I'm looking at the door, and the chain lock is dangling to the side, and I'm like, I remember that being locked, and the only way that could be unlocked is if somebody was on the inside of this house, moved these boxes, unchained the door, and then pushed the boxes back where I had them. So at this point, I was certain now that somebody in the neighborhood had a key. So I went back across the street to the neighbors, told them that, that every single peripheral door in that house was unlocked. And that had they noticed anyone over there or any kids playing in the yard after I had left, and they said no, and I gave them my telephone number. I said, I'm not going to be changing the locks on the house right now because we're not moving in until the summer, but I have a lot of workers that are going to be coming back and forth, so I'll change the lock when they're finished. But if you notice anybody in the yard, I want you to call me. And if I tell you to call the police, I want you to call the police, and I'm on my way. I'll be there in 20, 25 minutes. And they agreed to do that. And the lady said to me, she said, well, I'm not trying to be a nosy neighbor, but I did notice when you left yesterday that you were having trouble locking that front door. She said, as a matter of fact, you walked halfway to your car and doubled back and went and shook the knob. She said it before you left then and got into your car. And, of course, I had forgotten doing that. But when she mentioned it, I then remembered. And so, of course, this whole thing with it opening on its own, it didn't make sense. But so I went back into the house. I had finished the rug. I was starting to paint the ceiling. And also I might add that I had 4 different workers come into the house. And the first 3 would not return to the house after a day of being in there when they started putting in the wooden flooring. And I didn't get to find out until the 3rd one of which would actually happen. But anyway, so just to kind of move forward a little bit here, a lot of things happened in this house. A lot of things happened. But when things kind of started to amp up was when we actually spent the 2 nights there that we did. On the first night, my daughter had asked if she could have her friend come along and do a sleepover with her. So I brought along, queen-size blow-up mattresses. I put one in her room and one in the master bedroom. And so my daughter and her friend, were doing a sleepover. And this girl had slept over with us many times before. And about 1 o'clock in the morning, she didn't want to stay anymore. She wanted to go home. And my daughter said that she had gone into the kitchen and to get some Oreos, and that something scared her in there, and that she wouldn't even go into the bathroom without my daughter tagging along with her, and that she she was adamant about leaving and going home. So I had the girl, call her parents, and of course the parents didn't want to come and get her at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and convinced her to stay until the morning. And so we then left. But a couple of days later, my kids wanted to go back and do a sleepover again. So this time it was just us, and we brought my dog this time. We had a little schnauzer named Sally. And Sally would not go in that house. She balked at the door, so hard that her collar came over her head. And I thought, well, maybe she's got to go to the bathroom. So I hooked her up to the tree out front and let her run around out there on her lead, but when it came time to bring her back in, I literally had to pick her up and carry her into the house, and she was literally darting around the house looking for an exit, and of course something happened in the house with her and my children on that day that I didn't find out until later, but so that evening I had both of the blow-up mattresses in the master bedroom. My son was on one, my daughter was on the other, and they had a little VCR TV in the middle. They had brought Hidalgo to watch, and they had kind of fallen asleep. And I'm like, everything is half done. I want something finished that I can walk into and that it's done. So I decided to paint the master bedroom bathroom because it was small. I knew I could do it in a couple of hours and be done. And so I did, and it was about 11 o'clock when I finished, and it was low fume paint. But while I'm in the bathroom with the door shut, so that the paint, even though it's low fume, I didn't want it to come out and affect my children, and the windows were open in there too. But I heard my dog growling, and I thought, well, that's strange. So I thought maybe she needed, to go outside, and maybe because the windows were open, that she was hearing the raccoons and stuff, which where we were living before we couldn't have the windows open because it was a luxury, and it would be in where we were living. It was more of an invitation than a luxury, so we had to always keep things closed. And so I took her out, and again, she balked at coming back into the house, and I went down to the kitchen with my paintbrushes, and I was cleaning up the paint. And when I came back out of the kitchen, as I was crossing in front of the wrought iron railing, because where you would come out of the kitchen to your right was a wrought iron railing, which was where the young man had hung himself from, to keep you from going over into the descending stairs. And then there were stairs in front of me. To my left was a big, large living room, and if you continued forward, you'd go into a hallway that would take you into the 3 bedrooms and the 2 bathrooms. So as I'm coming out of the kitchen, I get to about midway on the railing, which was about 4 feet in length, and I catch out of my peripheral vision this thing that shot up the stairs, across the double entry doors, up the stairs in front of me, and shot down the hallway. And I stood there frozen. This thing was not from this earth. It appeared to be standing on its. It was an animal-looking thing, almost a wolf-like looking thing. But the nose, the way that it narrowed, it had very large nose holes like a horse. So the nose holes actually almost took up the whole end of the nose part of the face, and it had rabbit-type ears that were long, but they weren't on the top of its head. It was on each side of its head, turned backwards, skimming over its shoulders, for lack of a better word, like the FTD man. It had them on the sides, and they were long, and it was kind of hunched. Its feet were going so rapid underneath it that you could just see a fluttering motion, but it stood up on its haunches. And when it came up to the top of the stairs, and I am frozen, I'm ready to wet my pants. I'm standing there, this thing, I'm 5'9". It was probably around 5'7" or 6. It was a little shorter than me. And it had these like skinny little arms and hands with long, nasty looking nails. And it shot down the hallway in front of me, and I'm standing there and I'm thinking, okay, I've been painting in fumes. It's been a while since I've eaten anything. Maybe my blood sugar is low. You know, I'm trying to rationalize what I've seen because this just did not make sense. It could not be real. So I started to rationalize, thinking that maybe a motorcycle or bicycle had gone under a street light, and because not all of the windows had window dressings on them yet at that point, that it created that weird kind of, you know, rounding through, different than a car would make. But then it didn't make sense because there was no way that it could have come up and crossed across the front doors and then up and then down in front of me. And then all of a sudden I hear my dog Sally growling, but it was a different kind of growl than I had ever heard her do. It was bone chilling. She was growling in this way, and so immediately kind of snapped me out of my funk of what I was trying to rationalize as seeing. And I went down to the master bedroom where my kids were sleeping, and my dog was fixated on that door opening. She was standing in the master bedroom, fixated on the door that went into the hallway. And of course, this is the direction that thing just shot down. So I walk into the room and I kind of pet her on the head to calm her. And she only puts her ears back for a quick second, and then she's still standing there just growling at that doorway with her hair up on her neck. And again, I thought maybe she needs to go out. So I took her out again. Same issue with not wanting to come into the house, but finally when I brought her in the house, she shot down the hallway and nestled in between the two kids on the mattresses, and I took a shower and I crawled in with my kids. I'm like, move over. I'm getting in. But then the next morning when we woke up, I asked my daughter, I said, how did you sleep last night? And she said, I didn't. She said, I felt like something was staring at me from that doorway all night long. And then my son, when he woke up, he had also taken a bath the night before, and he had on his Thomas engine pajamas that were shorts and a top or something like that. And when he got up, he had bite marks on his legs.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. He had 3 individual bite marks of upper and lower teeth. They looked like dog bite marks, although my dog, she was not prone to biting, and if it had been her that had bitten him, the mouth span would have been larger and the width of the teeth would have been larger. And these were purple bruises, and you could literally count the teeth of the upper and the lower part of the teeth. And my son had them, one on each leg in the thigh area, and then a third one lower down he had 2 of them on his right leg, one lower down on his right leg. And when he got up, I said to him, I said, Austin, oh my God, you've got bite marks on your legs. What happened? And he's looking at him, he's touching him. He says, I don't know. And I said, did Sally bite you? And he said, no. And he's touching him still. And I'm like, and I thought, I asked him, I said, were you playing with your dinosaur? I thought maybe his plastic dinosaur thing, he was playing with, maybe jabbing it on his leg, but his dinosaur wasn't even with us. So it wasn't that either. So we, of course, packed up that morning, and I went to load Sally in the car. I was coming back to get the kids, and lo and behold, boy, the kids were dressed and out the door. And my daughter says to me, I've already locked the door. Here's your purse. She says, can we go get something to eat? And they were ready to go in literally like 5 or 10 minutes. They were fully dressed and ready for school to go. And we didn't really talk much more about it, but, it was very concerning about those bite marks. And
no kidding.
As things continue, yes.
Now, I have to ask you right there, as a single mom, and I've been a single dad before, and I know that, when something happens to your child, you are enraged double time, right? Because
yes,
you want to be, you're like the mama bear. I was like the papa bear. And it's like, okay, something hurt my child. Like you're fit to kill at this point, I bet.
Yes, I was. And, the thing is that, again, I was trying to find out what caused it.
Right.
And there was nothing reasonable that had caused it. So, and I guess all of this comes together as I start getting information on things. And the fact is that he had no idea where they came from. And I mean, something that would be able to leave bruises like that on somebody, they would have felt it. So it was something that occurred during the night because of the way that the teeth prints were like that purple bruising. But of course, I'm thinking, he's a boy. I kept trying to rationalize it because nothing made sense. So it wasn't until as I had said, I had multiple workers coming, and I had one worker in particular. The first 2, the guy before I even hired him told me that he was in between jobs, and that if another job opened up, that he would be going to do that. And that's kind of what happened. So that made sense when I contacted him and I came and the flooring wasn't done. The second guy came over, flooring wasn't done after a weekend of where he was supposed to be there finishing it, and I couldn't get a hold of him. Finally I did, and he had the reasoning that a family member was in the hospital. Of course that made sense, but this guy left his DeWalt tools and he never came back and got them. He told me to sit them out in front of the garage in a box, and they sat there for 3 weeks, and he never picked them up. And neither of these 2 guys ever came back to be paid. So I was getting desperate because it was getting closer to time to actually move in. I had now sold the place that I was living, and I had 30 days to get out. So a friend of mine at work had a cousin that was out of work at the time, and he was handy that way, able to do things in the house. And I asked her if he could help me. So he agreed to come over and help me. And this is when I finally was able to find out what was happening in the house with the workers. This particular day, I was in the house while he was there. I was in the hallway, paralleling my son's bedroom, where the young man was starting with the tongue and groove flooring, putting it in. And I was painting the hallway, and as I turned, in my peripheral vision, I had view of the stairs coming up to the main level, and what I saw as clear as I could see, like you standing in front of me, this young man walking up my stairs, and he was so real that I turned and I said, "Did you knock?" Because I thought that it was some person that maybe had knocked and we didn't hear him, so he opened the door and walked in. And then when I turned and I looked directly at the stairs, there was nothing there. And I realized in that moment that, it was a ghost. And the young guy in the bedroom putting down the flooring said, "Oh, no, I just dropped something." He thought when I asked, "Did you knock?" that I was talking to him. So, of course, this kind of spooked me and creeped me out because
as it should.
Now I've acknowledged, there is in fact a ghost in the house. And so I gathered my things and I left. I left to go pick up my kids, and while I'm in the car line, I get a call from this guy who's putting flooring in my house. He says to me, I have to leave right now. He says, "There's something weird about this house that I've never experienced before," and the line dropped. So I'm trying to call him back for almost an hour, and I can't get a hold of him. And finally I get a hold of him, and he's like, "Oh, it was nothing, but I'd rather be there when you're going to be there." And I explained to him that I wasn't coming back because that weekend I was a nurse working a Baylor shift, so I worked every weekend, and I had Monday through Friday off to be home with my kids. And so I told him, I said, "I'm not coming back until Tuesday. My son's got Little League Monday. It's Friday. I'm going to be gone through Tuesday." And I found at that point in time that he had not secured the house, and also some of the windows had been left open, and two of them had these oblong air conditioners in them, so there were no screens over the top. So there was a whole area of about 2 feet where it was opened. So I had asked my friend Ellen, and we'll go back to him in a minute because there were some things that happened. But so I went home and I asked my neighbor Ellen. I said, "I've got to go back to my house to secure it. Would you mind riding along with me?" Because I didn't want to go back by myself. Because after seeing the ghost, I was still weirded out. So she agreed to go with me, and as we're driving along down the road, I said to her, I said, "Do you believe in ghosts?" And she said, "Oh, hell yeah, I believe in ghosts." And I said, "Well, good, because I think there's one in this house." I said, "So when we get there, if you don't feel comfortable coming in with me," because I needed somebody to help me pull the air conditioners in so that the windows could be shut and secured. I said, "I'll go across the street and I'll get the neighbor's husband and see if he'll come in and help me, but I really appreciate you going with me, at nighttime and going there." So she said, "Oh, no, I don't mind going in with you." So when we got there, again, the key was a problem. This time the key was stuck on me. So stuck that I had put it in and I couldn't get it to turn. And then finally when I got the door open, I couldn't get the key back out. And Ellen walks into the foyer and she just turns to me and she looks at me and she starts to make a joke. And she says, "What are you going to do?" She says, "You're not going to leave me here and let the boogeyman get me." Well, those things targeted her. And the key just came out of that lock so fast that they almost fell to the ground out of my hand. And so we went in, we pulled the air conditioners in, secured the windows, and of course, I kind of wanted to show her around a little bit. This was her first time there. I was proud of the house, and my daughter had wanted to have a wild horse-themed bedroom, so I had asked Ellen to come into the kitchen with me because I had gotten these really, really cool wooden carved horse heads to hang balances over my daughter's window with, and I wanted to show them to her, and she was holding one in each of her hands. Well, as we're standing there in the kitchen, I'm hearing this gurgling sound. It almost sounds like a didgeridoo, but it's this buzzing electrical sound that I had heard before when a demon had approached me in the house. And
Right.
This is all, there's so much more in the book besides just this. But anyway, so we're standing there, and all of a sudden, Ellen says to me, and I don't say anything because I'm thinking that I'm the only one that's hearing the sound.
Hold that thought right there, because we are going to step out for a break here at the bottom of the hour. Author Lynn Monet, her book Omnipresent. the real story of what it's like to live in a house from hell. On Spaced Out Radio continues after this. Oh, this is good. This is good stuff. You're making
this is where she gets clawed.
You're making me look good here. Thank you.
You're making me look good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, as Captain and Tennille sang, love will keep us together.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually a pretty good song. I liked Captain and Tennille.
Well, let me try something here. Hold on. See if that worked.
Yeah, you stopped at a good point because this is where she gets clawed.
All right. Well, we're soon going to learn about it. We are soon going to learn about it. Hey, you know what? I'm looking at myself on YouTube. My hair isn't looking too bad. Having a good hair night here tonight.
You've got great hair anyway.
No,
I've
it's true.
seen your pictures. I've seen that.
It's true.
You definitely have great hair.
I can't even deny that.
I'm sure your both friends hate you.
They bug me. They bug me about it. I have a few friends who are jealous.
I'm sure.
Between my three best friends here in my town, all three of them would have less hair than me. If you combine them.
I believe that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Anyhow. Enough about that. This is an awesome story, man.
I'm glad. I hope that you're getting some good feedback in the that roll down thing where people comment. I hope.
Oh yeah.
That you're okay. Good. Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely an awful time. Actually, it was terrible.
All right.
But it's a good Halloween story.
Oh,
okay,
no, I'm loving this. I am absolutely loving this. I'm like, this is exactly the reason why I told you I did not want to hear anything before the show. I did very little studying. I just wanted this one to come, fresh off the mind with everything that is going on. And damn it, I called this one right.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yes. No problem. We have about 2.25 minutes. The audience says that if you want to come join the chat room and say hello to them, they would be okay with that. They're kind of liking you.
Okay. Oh, I'm glad. How do I even get to that? Because right now I'm sitting in my living room.
Don't worry. Oh, don't worry about it. If you're comfy, don't worry about it. You can do it after the show. I'll show you how after the show.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Right, that would be great.
Yeah, we'll worry about it then.
Sounds good.
No problem. We have just over 90 seconds.
And I appreciate this too, because on a personal level, my job is ending this week, and I could really, I need, the book sales are helping feed my family.
Well, let's get to it.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm.
All right, we got about just over 1:15.
Okay. I mean, I hope that was okay to tell you.
Oh yeah. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's all good.
How is the COVID thing in Canada? Are they trying to run around and vaccinate everybody?
Soon. There's still a big debate on that in the House of Commons, which would be like your Congress or Senate.
Us too.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
hey Gil, if your audio and everything is out of sync, or you're noticing my mouth is not lining up with my words, try hitting refresh on your end, and I'll try hitting refresh on this end a little bit, because we had a couple of stutters here with lagging, so I think that's kind of what did it. I'm going to refresh here a little bit, see if that changes things up, and hopefully it'll change the signal. So you'll see that little thing happen there. All right, here we go, guys.
Spaced out.
Halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with author Lynn Monet. Her website, lynnmonet.com, where you can find her book Omnipresent, the true story of what it's like for this single mom buying her first home, and the damn thing is haunted. Haunted as anything. Spirits don't like her there, nor her kids. They're attacking them. Lynn, welcome back.
Thank you so much. I'd say it definitely was a hard time. And I just like to say this, a lot of people say to me, well, man, the first time I'd walked in that house and saw that guy hanging there, I would have been out of there. But people don't realize, when you signed on the dotted line for a 30-year mortgage, you don't always have that option to just bolt and run. And also, I really, really loved the house. I felt that there had to be a solution. But as I was mentioning before, my friend Ellen and I, we were up in the kitchen. She was holding the horse heads, and the sound starts to emit into the room. It's an unusual sound. Like I said, the closest thing that I can think of is like a didgeridoo sound, and it's not something from this earth, but if you've heard it once, you will recognize it. If you hear it again, you'll know exactly what it is. And she heard it, and she turned and she said to me, what is that sound? She didn't turn, she turned her head. And I said, remember I told you about the possibility of a ghost being in the house? I said, listen, I just want to show you a few things, and then we'll leave. And she was holding the horse head, and all of a sudden she starts screaming. She said she drops the horse head. She's got one in each hand. She drops them to the counter, and she starts grabbing at her shirt, trying to pull it around. And she said, what is it? What is it? Is it a spider bite? She said, something's burning. Something's burning. And she kept pulling her shirt, trying to see if maybe she had something crawling on her or whatever. So I went behind her, and I lifted up her shirt. And between her shoulder blades, and even part of it was underneath her bra strap, was a claw mark. It was about a 4-inch claw mark. And being in the medical field, when it looked like a cat scratch, it was one single scratch, and it was just welting and beating blood. And normally, being a medical person, that is an initial response to a scratch. Never before does that welting process happen. Even if you bump the scab off, it just does not happen again. So I asked her, I said, Ellen, what happened? Did you, rub up against the corner of the car window getting out? Did you bump into something? What caused this on you? And she said, I don't know. And she started screaming again, and she says, oh my God, it's got me on my stomach. And she went to lift up her shirt, and she had a claw mark diagonal to the right of her belly button, just below her belly button, that was also doing the same thing. And so at that time, this fog had started to move forward into the room. It was like a portal that the demons were entering through. And so I told her, I said, they seemed to be targeting her. So I told her, I said, leave. I said, just go out the door. I'm coming behind you. And at that point, I didn't even care whether the house was locked up or not, because, you know, that house could take care of itself if anybody wanted to come in there. So we went ahead and we left, and she was complaining of that burning sensation from the claw marks all the way home. So this had happened. This was something that I couldn't deny, of course, and I went home to the single wide trailer that I was living in and actually sat down for the first time on the computer looking through the internet for a paranormal group.
Right.
I'm thinking that there's got to be a solution for this.
Right.
A blessing on the house. Something's got to give that can help get these things out of my house, because I had to move in there. You know, I like I said, I had already sold the place that I was in. So the very next day, I wasn't happy with the sites that I found, because so many of them were advertising that they could come in there, but they wanted to come in and get pictures and then put them on the internet. I didn't need someone to come in and tell me that I had an infestation, with a demonic infestation. I already knew I had a problem. I wanted somebody to come in and get them out so that I could move into my house. And that was part of the problem. So I the very next day, I got out the yellow pages and I went through every single church in those yellow pages, and I called every single one. And to my surprise, most of them referred me to the Catholics. And I was kind of surprised at that, because I thought maybe somebody would want to take on this task to prove their seniority, since there was so much competition between traditional religions. A few of them told me that if I had been attending their church, that I wouldn't be having this problem. And then there were 2 or 3 of them that, when they heard that I was a single mother and I was desperate for help, they turned it around on me, trying to claim that I was promiscuous, and that was the reason for which I was having my problems. And at that point, I was focused on my kids. I hadn't even been out on a date in 4 years. So that, of course, was not true either. But I understood that even though these churches' slogans were, "What would Jesus do?" Well, he would have helped me. But I understood that because of their own fear and lack of wanting to admit that this could be happening, and lack of knowledge of how to address it in an effective way, were
blame
the
you.
reason for the responses.
Blame you.
Yeah, just to turn it around on me. So I was surprised. I mean, I was Presbyterian at the time, and even the church that I was affiliated with shut the door on me. However, the Presbyterian minister did not. And he actually told me, he said, talking about this to the church, the Bible thumpers are actually scaring me more than even the thought of the things in your house. And he then took me to a Catholic priest that was a friend of his. And unfortunately, this man was in the process of boxing up things to move to another Catholic church. And but he gave us some information on a Catholic priest that if I continued to have problems, that I could reach out to and have him come and do a blessing on the house. And also in that process, I had contacted a paranormal group from Georgia that was led by a priest called Andrew Calder, who has since passed away. May he rest in peace. And he came to the house and set up infrared cameras and actually got pictures of the ghost and confirmed the infestation that I had. And he said that it was a bad one. And he even warned me. He said, even though I'm doing this blessing now, he said, you will always have to be diligent in
claiming your home and casting out, the demons if ever they show up again. He said because of the type of infestation that I had, that it was common that they would return because of something that they'd become used to there. And of course, in that moment, that was the turning point for me, because I told him, I said, there is no way. I said, it's one thing being a single woman with children at home, having to deal with criminals at large, but there is no way that I am going to have to deal with that in my house. My house is supposed to be my haven. It's supposed to be where I can come home and relax. And what's going to happen if a window's open and an envelope blows off the table? What's going to happen if I decide to have extended family over for a Thanksgiving dinner, and I now see this demon walking through the house, and I stand up at the table screaming and pointing at it, commanding it to leave in the name of Jesus Christ? How many of my guests are going to stick around for dessert, and not only that, come back or even invite me to their houses because I might be bringing more than chocolate cake? So I told him, I said, there is no way that I can do that to my children. I said, it's bad enough that they come, there's something in my closet, something under my bed. But in the case of my children, there might really be something under their bed or in their bed,
right,
which is worse. And then they come to me for protection, and we're all huddled and scared because the sheets are getting pulled off the bed. And I said, there is no way that I'm going to put my kids through that. And of course, after Ellen got clawed, I didn't take my children back to the house anymore. I did own it for a total of 8 months. And again, I didn't sleep in it again after that either. But I kept my children, away for safety purposes. And they only came back one time after that. And that was after the paranormal group had come through and blessed the house and said that it would be okay for them to come through. But then it turned out that it wasn't, because the children started to get attacked again. And so, that is when I really just threw in the towel, and I said, I can't do this.
Right.
To this day, my son is 22 years old, and he was 7 years old when that happened. And to this day, he will not sleep at night without a light on because it scared him so badly. There's almost like some post-traumatic stress from it, because in addition to that, the cover of the book is a door with some creepy hands coming through it, so you can make sure that you get the right one. And so much more happened than just what we're telling here. But that was an actual event that occurred in the house, the cover of that book. My son at 7 years old was going in to use the master bathroom, and he is sitting on the toilet, and that is what he sees coming in at him while he is sitting in the toilet on that bathroom. And he agreed to help me design the book only in the sense that I would show it to him and say, is this what it looked like? Yeah, but a little bit more of this there. And at that point, he told me, he said, I've helped you with this, but I don't want to be asked questions about it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want you to bring me with you on a talk show. I will not do it. He said, I will not discuss this ever again. It was so upsetting to him that way that he was actually left with effects from it.
I want to ask you, you started bringing in paranormal teams. And, there's a big debate within the paranormal community. Should you charge money? Should you not charge money for the investigation? You are a worried parent. You are somebody who doesn't know what's going on. You don't understand the paranormal. You hit Google, what happens?
Well, of course, they wanted to come in and take pictures, and it wasn't that they were always going to charge me money, but they were going to make profit off of my issue. So they did get paid one way or the other. I had people, when you're in that situation, you are desperate. And it's not like you can call the Ghostbusters because they'll send the men in white coats. And so when someone comes forward and says, I can help you, you'll pay them anything that they want if you can come up with it, just to have the things be gone and to have that peace of mind. The unfortunate part of that is a lot of those people come in and they make it worse. they end up riling up your ghost and saging. Y'all, it's not enough. When you've got a demonic infestation, only, pardon the expression, but piss them off more than help. It will clear the negative energy of people arguing or maybe a lost soul that needs to move on. But when there's demonic activity, it does not make them leave. It makes them hide. So, and then they reappear, and they're angry when they reappear. So they end up stirring things up, and then they walk off and leave you with ghosts that have been riled up. It makes the situation worse. I mean, after I started having the blessings in the house, the whole situation exacerbated. I mean, it just got worse. And I mean, I had multiple witnesses that either were attacked or actually saw the entities in the house or heard them or dealt with issues with them, besides even the people that I had coming in to bless the house. But this happened often. In the case of the paranormal group that I had come up, I was not charged anything. However, there was a charge in the cost of course, the traveling expenses, putting it up to a hotel for a couple of days. All of their meals had to be paid for. Of course, and this is reasonable. You can't expect somebody to come and spend hundreds of dollars to come and take care of your house. And I also had a second person that didn't charge me but would accept donations, and she was actually the most effective out of all of them, and she actually helped release the young man from the house in one of her rituals. She was an Indian woman, as in feathers, not dot. And and I don't mean that disrespectful. I just wanted to make sure, that they understood that she was native Indian. And but the thing is that I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Just talking about her and having those people in there. It's so easy to be taken advantage of. And however, coming away from the situation and actually clearing homes myself, now that I have figured out how to do it, I understand how draining and exhausting it can be. I've literally slept 3 days. I've had to take off work and sleep 3 days after clearing some of these homes because of some of the negative energy that comes off of these sources. It is exhausting. Any psychic reader that is legitimate, anybody that has any type of gift that way will tell you how doing those readings and doing things like that really, really drain you of energy, and you're exhausted afterwards. And people don't realize that, what a physical toll those things actually take on a person, not to mention the fact that they may follow them home. So then on top of clearing your problem, then they have to go through expense of their own to clear their own problem. So, the people that I actually had to pay were not effective, but of course the priest that came and blessed the house, it weakened the demons, and so they weren't attacking as much at first, but then once they got their energy back, they were back full force. Tricking, doing trickery type of things, and I had been exposed to them so much that I was able to see them when they would walk into a room. It was almost like I could either see them clearly out of my peripheral vision, or you could actually see the waffling to the air. There's like a waffling to the air when spirits are in the room, and the Indian woman that came in did not charge anything. She was willing to take donations, and she was kind of specific about her price of donations. But at that point, I had no more money. I was trying to get out of that house. At that point, she was a one more shot kind of deal where this is my last effort. I'm hoping that this one will work, because this lady, she actually took the time to speak to me on the phone first, and some of the things that she explained sounded so outside of the box and so bizarre that they actually made sense, if that even makes sense. because I could relate to what she was saying
Right.
with what I had experienced. So,
okay. Let me ask you this, as we only got about 4.5 minutes before we have to go to break. At the top of the hour, Lynn Monet is our guest tonight. As you're bringing in these paranormal teams, is the activity getting stronger? Is it getting worse?
Well, let's put it this way. It depends on who the person was that was coming in to do it. In the case of the Episcopalian priest, it weakened things, but they didn't go away. In the case of the Indian woman, it definitely brought them down, and we were able to release the young man. He was able to cross over. In the case of the Catholic priest that came, that poor man was he was trembling. So they were drawing off of him, and it made it worse because they were drawing off of his fear, and it did become worse after him.
Okay,
so it depends, on the person.
So when you allowed paranormal teams to come in, never mind the clergy, but the paranormal teams, because like I said earlier, we've had people on the show where they get these paranormal teams come on out, and the next thing you know, they go in there, they stir it up, they get freaked out, and then they take off forever. Was that happening with you too?
A couple of people, yes. Yeah, a couple of people that came out that professed to be able to remove them. They were getting the willies through the whole thing, and because they were getting the willies, the demonic realm was feeding on that. Yeah, so then when they left, I had PO'd ghosts in my house, but fortunately I had somewhere to go. I didn't have to sleep there or stay there. I can't imagine what it would have been for somebody that actually had to then live there with the ghosts after they had been riled up. So I was at least fortunate that way.
Oh, wow. Okay, so in your experience with the paranormal teams, because we deal with a lot of them, and a lot of them listen to this show, what is your opinion? What is, in the next 90 seconds to 2 minutes, what is your advice for these paranormal teams when they're going into a residential area?
I don't even know. To be honest, I don't even know where to start with that. I actually know of an effective way to remove them now that I've stepped away and had to experiment with a few things. But the thing is the saging thing is not enough. If they're going to go in and do something, they have to do something much more than that. And well, maybe I can get together with them sometime and we can talk about how to do that. So because there are some effective ways, but going in and riling them for these people and then leaving, and the worst thing is when the people contact and say, "Hey, look, they're still here. You were here and they're still here, and now it's worse," and they don't want to come back. They're like, "Oh, sorry, lady," or it must be something that you're doing wrong that made them come back. And that's a lot of what I got was, again, it was turned around on me.
I bet. I mean, here you are being taken advantage of by people in the paranormal.
Yeah, I was. And, it would have been different if I had had a husband, I think. But I wasn't. I was a mom alone with a 7-year-old and a 13-year-old. So, it made it even worse. I didn't have anybody to crawl underneath and hide behind. I was the person in the front. So, trying to protect my kids.
No kidding. How did you get through this? We got about 30 seconds here. How did you get through this in order to get some sanity back?
Prayer. A lot of it. A lot of it. I mean, it did this whole situation really, really made me question my faith, but I believe that it helped me to evolve more spiritually and in a richer way where I have a completely different understanding than I did before. And that's what helped me get through.
I bet. Lynn, you hold on and sit tight. We are going to go to break here at the top of the hour as Lynn Monet is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And we are going to have Lynn for another 30 minutes here on the Mighty SOR, telling her story about the incredible hauntings that she's written in the book Omnipresent, which can be found on her website, lynnmonet.com, Amazon, and every online bookstore as well. Make sure you get this one. It's True Tales from a Real Haunting from our guest, Lynn Monet. All right, we're clear. I'm just going to run my dog outside once again, and I'll be right back, okay?
Okay, thank
I'd
you.
like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and we have some cool swag for you to pick up. All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightline Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. And follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95.
All right, Lynn, I am back.
Okay.
I'm going to fire off a bunch of questions to you in this next half hour, because we got a lot to get through yet, and we're running out of time here. But when we get to the break at the bottom of the hour, just stick through the break, and then I'll say goodnight to you properly in the break, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Yeah. This is awesome. Awesome.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's funny because I kind of reflect on it, and when people ask me about my book, and I was reading a couple of chapters from it just the other day, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, that poor lady. And the reality of it was that it was me. So it's kind of like now looking through the window into that. I'm just so glad that I'm not having any issues with it now. So.
Oh, that's good. That's good. We got just under 90 seconds.
Okay.
All right, just under over 45 seconds. Thank you to both Zoe Buttercup and Fapster for the super chats tonight. We really do appreciate the love and support. A great way you can support this show as well is by giving us a thumbs up, hitting that subscribe button, ringing that bell so you know when we are going to go live on Spaced Out Radio. And, of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. And we have the SOR Vault. We got some new swag coming soon. I checked it out today. It is looking fine, people. Looking fine. We're going to post the new gear here very, very soon. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter and on Instagram as well. Here we go in about 5 seconds. Hold on there, Lynn.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. I am Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We welcome in everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. All of our archives are free by listening to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. The only thing I ask for in return is bang on that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce our guest, Lynn Monet. Her website, lynnmonet.com. She is the author of Omnipresent. This is a true story of her encounters of buying a haunted house and having to live with the demons that were torturing her, her family, her friends, and even the construction workers that were in her house. Lynn, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. I want to ask you right off the bat here. All right. You slept in the house for 2 nights. You owned it for 8 months.
Yeah.
You slept in it for 2 nights. Where were you staying while this was going on?
I had the single wide trailer that I was originally living in. I had been living in waiting for the summer to come for my children, and I had sold that trailer around the month of May, which then made me, I would need to get moved into the house quicker. But I ended up giving the people that bought the trailer from me back their money and never moved into the house. I mean, my furniture was moved in at one point, but I had to get everything moved back out. And so I did return their money, and I moved back into the trailer where I was. The thing was, there were no issues at that single wide trailer, and there were only issues in that house. And so, and I haven't had any issues since then in that way where I was living, where I've been living. Excuse me.
Okay, so the fact is you had a place to stay. What did the bank say when only after 8 months you're looking to sell this house? You know, your mortgage broker obviously is not going to be too impressed.
No, I actually contacted the attorney who did the closing on the house, and I asked him if there was a loophole to get out of the mortgage, and he wanted, of course, to know why, and I just came right out and I told him, I said, the house is haunted. And he started to kind of chuckle and, really, and I said, yes. I said, if you don't believe me, I said, all of my furniture is moved in here, the electric's on, the water's on. You and your family are more than welcome to come and spend the night or spend the whole weekend, for that matter, here and have the whole house to yourself if you don't believe me. And he declined. And the thing that was ironic about that is he actually, when I closed on the house that I bought after that, he actually was also the closing attorney, and he told me, he said, I remembered what you told me. He said, and there was a house recently that I closed. He said that I felt like something was standing behind me the whole time. So it actually kind of opened up his world and his, not perception, that's not the word I'm looking for, but his, it kind of opened him up to the reality of the possibility of something like that, because it's just not something that people talk about. So unless they're like us, we all have experienced things, we are interested in learning about these things, but for the most part, people want to keep their heads in the sand and, and deny that it exists because of their fear.
Yeah, and I understand that. I mean, you can only push yourself so far, right? And you were at your wit's end with this. I mean, what were your family and your friends saying about this? Not the friends who were attacked, but the fact that you're coming out and saying, look, I got to get out of this house. I can't put my kids here. I mean, were people laughing at you? Were they just rolling their eyes? I know in my own personal sense, when I've brought up things to family and friends, you kind of see them, just kind of tune out and walk into a different room.
Well, I'm very straightforward, and the people, I was actually surprised because they didn't do that. As a matter of fact, I had many, many people flock to me to tell me their stories. And they said to me, I've never told this to anyone before in my life, but I know that you'll believe me. And they would start to tell me different things that had happened. And you know what? I really didn't care if they were laughing. But people actually, of course, there were some people that approached and well, if you let our church get in there, we could get those things out. And then, of course, I invited them over. They wouldn't show up. They were kind of mocking and laughing. But I didn't care. But I was shocked at the amount of people that actually came forward with their own stories and wanting to share, or even asking for help. And that continues on today. I have not really been ridiculed by anybody about it. Maybe heckled a little bit, like in people leaving their opinion of what I'm talking about, but for the most part, no. People they've started to open. They've started to evolve, have a better understanding.
How did the spirits and the ghosts react to you all of a sudden moving all of your stuff out of the house?
Well, there was one, for instance, that there were, as I had made mention, there were two demons and a young man in the house. The spirit of the young man in the house, and of course, he was released during one of the blessings. That poor man, they had me open up the sliding glass door, and he ran so fast to the light past me. But, I had to coerce him during the daytime when I was there by talking out loud and telling him that they were coming and it was his time to go, that he needed to take that chance because I was leaving and he wasn't going to have that chance again. But there was one, for instance, I had moved most of my stuff out, and then just to kind of touch base on this, before I moved my things out, I was concerned about carrying the boogers home with me to where I was living, and so I went online and I looked up everything that I could on blessing things. So everything was covered in salt and holy water and blessed more than once, my children's toys and things, before I started bringing them back. But in addition to that, there was one point where I was down in the garage and there was this storage space underneath the stairs. And I went and I opened the door to get my Christmas decorations were in there, and I went to get them out, and that wolf thing was in there, and it was growling at me while I was removing my things. And I said to it, I just remained calm, and I said to it, these are my things, and I'm going to take them out of here. I don't plan to confront you. I don't plan to get into any kind of chaos here with you. I'm just here to get my things, and I'm taking them. So I got them out, and I took them, and I placed them towards the back of the garage. Then when I turned around, that wolf thing that I originally had seen on the stairs and now was underneath the stairs, he was also the thing that kept playing with the locks. He was standing in front of me, in front of the double garage doors, facing me. And I just simply looked at him and I said, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm leaving you with your house. I surrender. I'm leaving. I don't want any issues with you. I'm not going to confront you. And I just want my stuff, and I'm out of here. And as I turned around to walk away, I could feel his claw go into the crease of my arm where my elbow bends. And something just told me, very strongly came through to me, don't turn around, don't look at it, keep walking forward and out of the garage. So I went into the door that led into the hallway and up to the stairs and walked off on the thing. I feel that at that point that if I had become frightened or enraged or screaming at it, that it would have empowered it and it could have done something to physically harm me. I also felt that it might want to try to possess me, and that wasn't going to happen. And I made that clear too. I'm like, I am not interested in any part of you. You can have this house. You win. I'm leaving. And that's exactly what my attitude was. And I didn't play their game anymore. A lot of times people think that by challenging them and commanding them to leave, that works. And it actually seems to become more of a game with them then. They kind of hide and then come back out when you're not looking. So, but keeping yourself neutral, keeping your emotions intact when dealing with them doesn't play their game. And it's not fun for them to bother you if they can't get a rise out of you, that they can actually get something from it. So I feel like somebody told me once, I said, I'm not afraid of them. I've seen them so much, they don't scare me, and they leave me alone because I'm no fun, for them to bother me. I had, at one point, I was downstairs in that house getting stuff moved out, and I could feel the second demon, which had its own look and own thing, and I knew that he was there, and I expected for him to do something to try to get that shock value. And all of a sudden, I felt something in my pocket that felt like a coiling snake that then slithered down the side of my leg, but I knew there was no snake. So I did not react to it, and I turned and I faced the door, and I said, very funny. You wanted to try to scare me with a snake in my pocket. And I could see the thing with my own eyes looking at me like, what? He was shocked that I called his bluff and that I did not freak out over what he was doing, which most people, you'd be like, oh, yuck, what is that? You'd start grabbing your pant leg and looking. But I knew he was there, and I knew that he was going to do something, so I was ready for it. And I didn't give him the reaction that he wanted.
Unbelievable. So that strength, you turning your back on him and basically saying, you know what, this is over, this is done. All of a sudden, it was like you were guarded, that he couldn't get you.
I was guarded because I wasn't playing the game anymore. I wasn't interested in playing with them anymore. They couldn't scare me. They couldn't, there was nothing else that there was for them. I mean, there was no fun. I was no fun for them anymore.
Right. Okay, so you pack up your stuff, you get yourself out of there, and your children are safe, you are safe. Did any of these spirits or demons come to your next place of residence?
No. Nope, they did not.
Oh, that had to be so refreshing.
Yes, it was. And I'll tell you how I also believe that they're still The two demons are still in that house. After I sold the house to the people, and this is not in my book, everybody, so this is a juicy tidbit. I was in the area, and I just out of curiosity, it was about 6 months after I had sold the house, I was in the area and I thought, well, I'm just kind of curious. I wonder if they're doing okay. So I decided to drive past their street. I was not going to turn down the street because it was a dead end, and I didn't want to get that close to the house, but I did want to drive down and just see if they had made any changes in the yard or anything like that, and that they were still settled in there. And as I passed by the street, I noticed that there was a sign in the front yard, but where it was situated, it could have been in their yard or the neighbor's yard. And so I passed by the street, and I'm like, I really had to find out what that sign was. I was hoping, beyond hope, that it was not a for sale sign, because I really wanted for these people to have a good life in that house and enjoy their home, in some way. So, but curiosity got the cat, and I turned my car around and I drove up to the street and I said a prayer and I said, please don't let them come out of their house, because they'll recognize me driving down the street. Number one. Number two, protect me if there is anything that's still menacing in that house. So I drove past the house, and sure enough, it was a for sale by owner sign, and it was in their yard. And my heart just sunk in my chest, because I realized that the powers that be in that house were still, overruling people and making them leave the residence. And so I had to go to the end of the street. It was a dead end, so I had to turn around, and now I had to pass by the house a second time. As I was driving up in front of the house, I had my radio playing, some Marvin Gaye. It was real low. But as I got into the very front of the house, my radio started blaring in my car, just full blast blaring. I'm trying to turn it off. I'm trying to turn it down, and nothing is working. So I sped up to the stop sign, because the house was the second one in on the left. I sped up to the stop sign, and I immediately turned off the street. And within seconds of me turning off the street, my radio shut off. So to me, that was a calling card. They wanted not only did they know that I was there, they wanted me to know that they were still there. And I never went back.
They had your number. They could sense you being there.
Yes.
Oh, that just sent shivers down my spine. Oh, my goodness.
Right. A thing that I learned with this whole thing from the priest is that as there's a hierarchy of angels, there's also a hierarchy in a sub-level of demons. And the lower the demons get, the more things that they can do. They can leave bruise marks. They can pull hair. They can leave bite marks. They can claw people. There were 3 situations with this priest that was with the Georgia Paranormal group at that time, that was actually working with women that had been raped by demons. And so they can do these things, which also then made sense of the bite marks on my son's leg, because I didn't know that at the time, but I did learn that after the fact. And people, they don't realize how aggressive that the things can get, and how important it is. The most important thing to do is to remain calm. You got to remain calm.
Lynn, we have you for about 5.5 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio, and this has been an incredible journey that you have been on personally regarding this. And, I always am remiss to ask this question as well. All right. A lot of people who have this type of activity also have extraterrestrial presences around as well. Did that happen with you?
Not in that house, but since coming away from that issue and the issue and the gift that I was left with, which I do call it a gift, as a nurse, it's come in very handy with people that are crossing over. I have now the ability to see interdimensionally. I can see dimensions and frequencies that most people cannot see. And with that being said, I have seen aliens. In a very interesting case, I had a patient on a unit, and it was a upscale assisted living type setting, and I had this one person. She was with me for 2 years, and I worked at this job for 10 years, and every weekend I would be going down the hallway to give her her sleeping pill and her pain meds. And on 3 different occasions, I walked into her room, and I could see on the other side of her bed these beings standing there, and it looked as if they were pulling things out and plugging things in, kind of like an old-time switchboard operator. And all 3 of the things were the exact same height. They came up to my shoulder. When I entered into the room to give the lady this one time her medication, I always had to check her blood pressure and things like that before giving her her pills, because she also was getting cardiac meds. So, but my battery-operated blood pressure cuff would die. I mean, I would put it on her wrist and push the button, and it would die before I could even get the reading. And this happened whenever those things were in the room, and I then would end up having to take it manually. So I didn't say anything to the lady because I didn't want to alarm her. Who wants to take pain medicine or from a lady that's seeing things in your room? But I watched them, and at one point, one even came around the bed and walked through me. And I said, "Excuse me." I mean, it was so, it just automatically, I'm like, "Oh, excuse me." You know, and this thing was coming over to the side of the bed that I was on. Out of the 3 times, and only in her room, and only with her, and when she passed away and was gone, somebody else was put in that room, and I never saw them again. But on the 3 different occasions, they were the exact same beings. Sometimes there were as many as like 8 in the room, never fewer than 5 that were in the room. And all of them were the similar height. They had on the same whitish, gray-looking, one-piece uniform thing. They actually had covering over their faces. It was as if they could see through the fabric, so I couldn't see eyes or anything like that. But one of those 3 times, one of the I want to call them aliens that came with the group was taller than the rest, literally like by 2 feet taller. And he was the only one that one time that was different, but the uniform was the same. But all of them continued to do this work on this lady. She was laying on her side facing me, where they were pulling in and replugging these like circuits or something. And that is why it brought me to question to someone who is also somewhat of an expert on this kind of thing. Is it possible for alien beings to be intermingling in a humanoid form amongst us? And you know, and so that has come into play with my ability to see interdimensionally, that I did on those 3 occasions see alien forms in that woman's room.
That's scary. That is scary right there. Lynn, I want to say thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure to get to know you, to hear your amazing story, and to learn, thankfully, you're not being haunted by these demons any longer. And that is very, very comforting to hear. Do us a favor. We got about 1 minute here. Tell everybody where they can find your book, your website, and you got a new book coming out hopefully next year.
Yes, my website is currently under construction, but you can still go to the website. It'll give you my email address. You can contact me there too for a book if you're having trouble with Amazon. Most of it does go through Amazon, though. It is in a covered book as well as an ebook. In addition to that, I will be coming out with a book called The Colors of Heaven, Beginnings Never End. My 11-year-old added that in. It is a story about the actual process of dying, death, and afterlife, and what happens on both sides of the veil as the body prepares to transition into leaving the body, the soul leaving the body, and the preparation by the loved ones on the other side getting ready to receive. And I just would like to say, too, with that being said, that I've seen this. I did geriatrics for the last 17 years of my 35 years as a nurse, and I've seen lots of people pass away, and there are similar things that occur with these people over and over again,
Right.
regardless of what their religion is.
Right.
So, it's not about that.
Right. Lynn, I gotta
let
let you go right there, but thank you so much. Coming up next, we're gonna hook up with Vancouver and the Shift, and we're gonna get to the news wire and the thought of the day. Stay tuned. More Spaced Out Radio coming up. I'm sorry, I ran out of time.
That is okay. That is okay. Like I said, you can bring me back if you want. That
Oh
would be
yeah.
great.
Oh yeah, I loved it. Thank you so much. You were
You're very welcome.
amazing, and your story is amazing, and I'm very glad that you guys are safe. Very glad.
Yes, we are. I just wanted to share with you the one worker that was at the house the day that I was there with the young man was a cousin of a friend of mine that I worked with. So when he disappeared from the house and never came back, I actually asked her. I said, ask Bobby why he never came back. And so he came to her house on around 4th of July and had a beer, so he was feeling talkative. And she asked him what happened at the house. And he told her, he said, we're not on the radio, right?
Yeah, we are. Well, we're on YouTube, so I do have to run.
Okay.
You know what? Let's talk soon
Okay.
because I do have to hook up with the radio station in Vancouver here. I love
sorry.
I love you. Thank you so much. And I'll make sure that Corey stays in touch with you. Okay.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. How do I get
All right.
to that chat room?
Just go to youtube.com/spaced out radio, and then you'll see that we are live. You just click on there. As long as you're logged into YouTube, you could join the chat.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
You too. Bye
Good
bye.
night. What an honest, genuine lady. Honestly, just a great lady. Very honest. Very upfront. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. We're just waiting to hook up with Vancouver here so we can jump on and talk to Vancouver. We got Eric tonight. Normally we have Shane who's hosting, but we got Eric tonight. So, where we're at. Oh, that scared me. That scared me. Oh, you made me jump again. Oh, you scared me.
Mr. Dave Scott, how are you doing tonight?
Good, man. Say hello to the YouTube crowd.
Hey, YouTube crowd. Just touching base with Dave Scott for our link up with the Shift in a little bit here. Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Great.
It's going to be good.
I'll just let you know that Eric Chapman is the host tonight.
Yes.
Shane's, he messed up his back. So
I heard.
Eric's
I heard.
Tonight. But, all good for that. And we'll try and aim for 36 as usual on your end. But we're a little less than 90 seconds away here on our end. But
sure.
Everything should line up as usual.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Sounds good. Okay. I'm about 100 seconds away from hooking up with you here. Well, just over that. So, not a problem. I'll wait on, and I'll let you know when I'm done.
Sounds good, Dave. Thank you so much.
All right, man. We're hooked up with Vancouver. Look at that. It's all good. Grounded third. We're headed for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Now, every Tuesday, we hook up with the Shift in Vancouver. This time, Eric is in the hot seat, and we're going to say hello to Eric. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing good, Dave. How you doing, my man?
I am getting ready for Halloween, man. And once again, I am going costumeless.
Is this your favorite time of year, Halloween, because of the stories and the tales and all the cool stuff that's happening?
No, man. My favorite time of the year is Christmas. I'm a Christmas guy.
Now that just really...
I know. I'm like Clark Griswold, man.
You do it all. You got the whole... Well, usually, I guess not this year, but you're having the whole family over. You're cooking the big meal. You're having the big tree. All that stuff. You love it?
You know what? I love the feeling of going into a tree farm or into the forest and actually cutting down my own Christmas tree. It just, there's something about that is just beautiful and natural, and that's something that I enjoy. Old Davey enjoys that. Plus, it gives me a reason to fire up my old chainsaw, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's always a fun part. And if you go out into the bush, maybe you'll see something cool out there, too, right?
Oh, you always hope. You always hope.
Yeah.
Never seems to happen.
So, okay, I have something. I have a little tale I want to tell you, and I'm wondering about it because it happened to me a while ago.
Sure.
And then I have some questions about some demons and things like that. So I want to start with my story, Scott or Dave, and see if you've ever heard of something like this happen. So
all right.
I was lying on my bed. I lived in a small town called Barhead, Alberta.
Yes.
And shout out to the Steelers. But I was lying on my mattress, and it was just on the ground. It wasn't on a bed frame. And I was having a nap. And while I was sleeping, I was having a dream. It was a calm dream. It wasn't an excited dream. There wasn't anything intense happening. But I had the sensation that I was floating.
Oh.
And so in my dream, I'm just kind of floating around. Not high, not ceiling out, like maybe 4 or 5 feet in the air. And it's just a sensation. And it was a normal feeling to have in the dream.
Right.
So I'm dreaming away. And then all of a sudden, I wake up. And in that split second between being awake, transitioning from my dream into being awake, I was floating in my dream. Then when I woke up and opened my eyes, I felt like I was floating for a split second, and all of a sudden, without even thinking of it, I just heard this, and my heels hit the ground like I was actually floating.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, I've had this, it's been bothering me, and I remembered about it the other day, and I knew I was talking to you. So have you heard of things like this? Was this a ghost trying to pick me up? Or what is there any explanation to it?
You had what they call an out-of-body experience.
Really?
Yeah, so in your dream, you actually, it sounds like you left your body, and then as your body started waking up, you actually got back into your body before your body actually became conscious again. So a lot of people have experienced this, and many spiritualists will say that when you are having that, so very normal, very normal. You don't have aliens, you don't have ghosts.
Okay.
Right? You're safe.
Okay.
Just
awesome.
enjoy it when it happens.
Yeah, you know what? I wanted it happened so long ago. I'm looking forward to it happening again. And to be honest, I would be happy if it was a ghost. I'm more than happy than having a.
I know you are. You're excited about this stuff, Eric. I get you.
Really. Okay, good. Okay, and in your email, you mentioned demons, aliens, and ghosts for the chat tonight. Now I have a question about demons.
Yes.
Because in my upbringing, and all I know about them is that they come from hell. So it's almost like a biblical thing. Is that the case, or am I way off? What is a demon?
Well, that is something that comes from the pits of hell, as you stated. You know, old Beelzebub himself has himself an army there that every now and again they like to try and, put it in a Canadian hockey terms. They like to drop the gloves with us, torture us, do all this kind of stuff. I actually just had a lady on the air named Lynn Monet. She actually has a brand new book out about this house that she bought. She was a single mother. And, finally has the money to afford to buy a house. And the house that she wants is like her dream house. Well, The problem was they got some demons around there. Demons. In the 8 months that she owned the house, they were able to stay in the residence 2 nights because they were attacked. Scratch marks across the stomachs and backs, and her one child was complaining that his arm hurt, and he looks down and there's bite marks on his arm. I mean, it was ravenous and disgusting, and it was so bad that not even the clergy that she called in would come in to help her. I mean, that's how harsh this case was. So the good news is she sold the house, and the demons didn't follow her. They stayed in the residence. She saw the one. It looked like a wolf, and it would continually like show its claws and teeth at her. And she finally had enough and was able to just gain the strength to walk away from it. And it scratched her one final time, and she just kept going.
Wow.
Yes.
Will they follow? If like you mentioned there, she sold the house. Will a demon follow you from house to house?
If it's attached to you, yes, it will. Okay. If you've allowed it to attach it. So next question is, how do you allow it to attach? Okay. You keep trying to communicate with it. You keep giving it attention. You keep giving it fear. You keep being scared. You keep acknowledging it. That gives it strength. Yes.
So it's not like, because I've heard that you want to, if there's a ghost in the room, you want to be like, acknowledge them and say, hey, maybe you could, not be here anymore and go somewhere else. And that sometimes gets rid of them. But if you do that with a demon, that's not a good idea.
No. You don't. And that's the problem with the paranormal. You don't know what you're dealing with. Right? That's why, like, the last couple of weeks, I told John and Shane, when it comes down to it, at this time of year, everybody wants to have that ghostly encounter or experience. You don't know what you're getting. You really don't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of that. For me, that's part of the draw to it all, too, though, so it's kind of dangerous because, like, I want to be, like, exposed to this weird thing that I have no clue about. But, again, it could be dangerous, and I could be getting claw marks on my stomach when I wake up in the morning.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. But now, you mentioned you were a Christmas guy, but Halloween, is it a spiritual thing around Halloween, like All Hallows Eve? Is there a connection? Is there a real connection to the spiritual world and Halloween?
Well, according to the spiritualists, okay, this veil thing, I don't know what the heck this veil is, but apparently it is thinner at this time. So that's where all of these netherworld type creatures have an easier time of accessing our area and our timeline, and that's where everybody tends to think that Halloween brings out the I think it has something to do with the solstice or something. I don't really understand it, right?
Yeah.
But it just seems to bring out all of these spiritual activity, and when you add that to, if this veil really does thin, then you add to the fact that we as people, we start talking spooky ghost stories. Look, radio stations such as yours, okay, they don't cover a lot of paranormal stuff until we get closer to Halloween. Then all of a sudden they start reporting on maybe the 10 most haunted restaurants in the city, or the 10 most haunted locations in the province.
Yeah.
And that's when it comes out. So people start putting energy towards it. Energy with a veil thinning makes things happen. It's like
energy. It's really all about the energy with all this stuff, isn't it?
Well, it's like a car can't start unless you got remote start, but a car can't move unless you put the key in the ignition and turn it on. It's the same thing. So every October we turn this thing on, and that's what happens.
So we can. Well, I don't know if we don't want to turn it on, because sometimes it's really cool. So just just not feeding that energy and keeping it to yourself and not being so curious, and maybe you won't run into so many of these experiences if you are running into them.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. Wow. If you don't want demons, you don't want ghosts, you don't want aliens, don't ask for them. Real simple.
Right, you make a lot of sense. It really is.
Yeah.
And the thinning of the veil, though, has anybody ever tried to punch through it fully?
I don't even know what the heck the veil is. I'm just going off, like
the veil, yeah.
Like, is there a bride on the other? Is Bridezilla on the other end of that veil? I don't know. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is it like Is it like one of those veils that's over your bed, and the other side's like a tropical beach with
Could
just
be.
some beautiful
Keep
drinks
the
and everything?
mosquitoes
Like,
out.
right? Yeah.
Keep the mosquitoes and the demons out. Could be.
Do you have any good ghost stories that you've heard lately?
Okay. You know what? I actually, what I had planned for you tonight is you work in a radio studio. I work in a radio studio, correct? Correct.
Yeah, you got it.
All right.
Yeah.
So I figured I would share with you and your audience a couple of weird things that have happened over the years while I've been hosting this show.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
All right, because radio studios, we're all tech. We're all got our gear up. My gear has never really been messed with. I'm lucky that way, knock on wood. But I'll share a couple of stories here with you. Number one.
Yes, please.
We'll share the story of Carl.
Ooh.
Okay. Carl, I had to give him a name because I didn't know what else to call him. So
okay, just really quickly, I worked with a show host once for 8 months, and she called me Carl for 8 months because she didn't know my name, and I just let her call me Carl. But anyways, go ahead, Carl.
That's all right. Brian Burke, when I worked in Vancouver, Brian Burke always used to call me Tim or Jeff, and the only time he called me Dave was literally on the day he got fired from the Canucks. He held a they held a press conference, and he shook my hand, and he says, "Dave, it's really been a pleasure working with you."
Oh, I love that, Dave. That's really
I'm like,
funny.
4 years? 4 years?
Really?
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. Anyways.
That's really funny. Okay, let's get back to the other
Carl.
now. Yeah.
April 20th, 2015, I'm doing my show. And in my old house, I had my studio, a real terrible studio, not like I have now. Okay, but it was right beside my front door, and I converted my daughter's old bedroom into this. So right beside where I was broadcasting, I had a window to my left about 2.5 feet and the front door. And it's like 17 minutes into the show. I'm interviewing this guy named Harvey Kraft, and we're talking about Buddha, of all things. And I see something move out of the corner of my eye. And you know as well as I do that noise in the background when you're doing a radio show sucks.
Yep.
Okay, it's terrible. So I'm thinking, oh gosh, someone is here. I'm going to have they're going to knock at the front door or they're going to ring the doorbell. That's going to come across. Then my 2 dogs are going to start barking, and barking dogs never sounds good on the radio. Sounds pretty amateur. Well, after a couple of minutes, I realize my dogs aren't barking. Nobody's knocked at my door. Nobody's come inside. So I do what anybody would do. I turn my chair to see, maybe, like, is somebody trying to sneak up and break into my vehicles or what? Because I lived in Mission, British Columbia at that time.
Okay.
And I turn my chair, look out the window, and all of a sudden my eyes focus because I could see something there. And on the other side of the window is a large-headed alien gray staring right back at me.
Now, is that like I'm picturing like the typical, like stereotypical alien that when you say that, is that like with the big kind of
big black shape? Wow. The first thing I saw was the silverish white head, this giant bulbous head with these giant black eyes staring back at me.
What did it do when did it notice you notice it?
Oh yeah. And so I did what any man would do. I screaed like a banshee and jumped back in my chair. And
I'm calling my mom.
I was startled. And so then I jump up and I like, I'm only a step and a half from the window at this point. I jump up, and I would have seen any human being running away. I would have seen it.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Because the window's right there. I could see all the directions. Whatever this thing was gone, like vanished. And so after a few months, and this story rattled me for a few months, I had to give him a name. So that's how the legend of Carl came around.
Carl came. Okay.
Yeah. So there's that one. And I know we're running out of time. We got
about a minute.
Okay, another one for you. I was doing this story, this show with a gentleman named Anthony Kenyatta, who had this haunted doll called Harold. And he believed that the spawn of Satan was in Harold's or in the doll's body.
In the doll.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before the show, I'm talking to Anthony. He's like, dude, I don't know. Something may happen tonight. Usually when I do these interviews, something weird, the phone starts clicking or hangs up numerous times. I'm like, okay, whatever. All right. 45 minutes into the show, I see something out of the corner of my eye again. All right. I turn and I look, and there is a cloaked black figure standing about 18 inches from my left shoulder. Very thin.
Oh, wow.
And I'm watching this thing, and I watch it disappear right in front of me. And
shot, like, dissolved away into nothing?
Dissolved into nothing. So I said to Anthony, I said, I think Harold just showed up at my house. He goes, what did you...
Oh, dang.
He goes, what did you see? So I told him what I just told you, and he goes, oh my God, my best friend just had that happen 3 nights ago.
No way.
Yes. So.
Oh, I love that. That was my favorite story. I like that one a lot.
Yes, my friend. So there's a lot of weird and a lot of woo that happens when you do a show like this. You just gotta enjoy it when it happens.
And I enjoy it every time we talk, my friend. Thanks for joining us again.
Absolutely, my friend. You take care, and thank you to all your listeners, and have a safe Halloween.
Awesome. You too, and all your listeners too. Awesome. Haunted Dolls, Dave Scott.
Absolutely. And here we go with the SOR Newswire. Let's get to it, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the UFOs? Yeah, what the heck? Experts say bright lights spotted in the sky over Hawaii were likely the remnants of a booster from a rocket that launched 12 years ago. John O'Meara, chief scientist of the W.M. Keck Observatory in Waimea, said the lights spotted in the sky this past weekend were likely from the booster of a Chinese rocket that was launched in 2008. Mary Beth Lakechak, Strategic Communications Director for the Canada-France-Hawaii Telescope, said the appearance of the lights lines up with the projections of the booster's re-entry path. We can't be 100% certain because we don't have any of the pieces of the debris, Lachek stated, but the pattern of the lights that we saw in our time lapse, combined with this map, this flight path, and the precision at which all of these companies are able to estimate where their objects will enter and how they will break up, is what really leads us to believe that this was the Venusat 1 re-entering the atmosphere. You know, the funny part about it is, I watched this thing. I've watched 3 different angles of this, and the video that they are showing literally shows something breaking up, and the lights all have these trails, like comet trails, all right, or asteroid trails when they come on in. The 3 videos that I watched didn't have that. They had blinking lights, they had stationary lights, they had lights up above where you could almost, because the lights were so bright, it looked like something else. I think this one's a cover-up. Put the tinfoil on, okay? Put the tinfoil on, but this to me did not look like anything breaking up. And I've seen that. Okay, we've seen videos of rockets breaking up, of debris coming down and causing sparks as it burns into the atmosphere, meteorites, everything like that. Look nothing like that. This thing was floating in the sky. Floating. I'm disagreeing with the scientists on this one. I think Hawaii got some aliens. I really do. All right. A new massive reef measuring about 1,600 feet has been discovered in Australia's Great Barrier Reef, making it taller than some of the world's highest skyscrapers. Scientists found the detached reef, which is the first to be discovered in more than 120 years, in waters off of North Queensland while on an expedition above research vessel Falkor. The reef was discovered back on October 20th, and scientists completed an underwater mapping of the seafloor of the northern Great Barrier Reef. At 500 meters high, it is taller than the Empire State Building. How cool is that? What a discovery. Let's get to the thought of the day, shall we? Let's do this. Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. Tell me a story about your experience living in a haunted house. Kira, my house itself is not haunted, but I have many antiques that hold spirit energy. Davey, a false wall was discovered in an outbuilding on a local farm. The false wall concealed a sealed room that contained only one thing, a strange spiral-shaped bone. As soon as the bone was removed, poltergeist activity began, and a series of bad luck befell the household until the bone was returned and the false room resealed. Gail, it was an old house we had temporarily rented. It had an attic that was kept locked by the owners. From the very first at night, we could hear footsteps walking around the attic. That was creepy enough, but whatever was in there took an extreme dislike towards me. How do you not like Gail? Come on. Ryan, well, as soon as I started remodeling, it started remodeling me. And that was it. Now it's a bed and breakfast with portals to hell. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thank you to everybody in our chat rooms on Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, at our website, and on Twitter with all the snarkers and snarkats at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you back, Goddess Michelle. You are a hero being a nurse during this COVID crisis. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But tomorrow, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. That's a good show, everyone. Good show. Solid radio right there. Solid radio. You can see Super Quest right there. Fuck yeah, Captain. Get that fucking thing going. Oh, yeah. Love it. Oh, gosh. That was an intense show. I loved it. I loved it. Great job, Corrence, the booking guy. You deserve a few claps. Another solid, awesome guest, dude. Another solid, awesome guest. That's why we keep getting our numbers going up and up and up, dude. It's all because of you, man. And between you and Spookles the Cat and Captain Shirk, you guys are the reasons that this ship keeps on trending upwards. And you're awesome guests, dude. Amazing. Amazing. Love you, man. Yeah, good old Corrence the booking guy right there. Corrence the booking guy. All right, everyone. I'm just going to quickly download this show, and we'll get things ready here pretty darn quick. and kind of go from there. So let's go like this. That goes there. That goes there. I'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere. I know there's 86 of you and only 81 likes. All right. There we go. Let's do this whole download thing. And what else? set up. And we'll do. How we all doing, guys? How we all doing? Having a good night? It was a good show. Bill Wilson, what the hell? One day I'll have to tell you about Spirit Board. Oh, Bill, thank you so much, man. That's really, really kind of you, man. Thank you. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much, man. Wow. Unbelievable. Lee Bodge, Major Lee with the super chat tonight. Pharmacy, you got your first super chat. It's awesome, man. That's wicked. Thank you so much, everyone. I really do appreciate the love and support. Last night was amazing. Tonight is just as amazing. And, the support that you guys have for this show is awesome. And I'm very blessed to, have each and every one of you as an audience member. Really am. I mean, you guys are, I'm a very lucky man. I'm a very lucky man, and don't ever think that I take that for granted, because you guys are the reason why I do this nightly. And I'll tell you, it just keeps getting better and better and better, and I hope that I keep getting better and better for you guys. So, it's not just me, though, guys. I may be the guy in front of the camera and the guy who talks, but it's my entire team that makes us look good. And I can't stress enough how much that Captain Shirk with the news, Corey with the booking, and Spookles the cat who does the social media. I cannot thank everybody enough for what everybody does with their little roles. And these are all volunteers who do it out of love for this radio show, and they believe in this radio show, and just as much as you guys do, who listen every single night. And I got to tell you, I get all the credit, but it's the people behind the scenes who really, really make this show happen. And without them, we're nothing. We are absolutely nothing. And so, when you see Captain Shirk, I know she doesn't come into the YouTube chat, but if you see her on Facebook or something like that, or you see Corins or Spookles the cat in there, make sure you give them their props as well, because they deserve as much recognition as I do with this. And they take so much stress and free up so much time from me that I can't do that without them. So thank you. I appreciate everything you guys do, especially for listening to the show on a nightly basis and being here. But the credit really goes to the people who are part of this team. I can't take credit. I really can't. But thank you for everything you do. I mean that. I do. I mean that. What you guys are up to. D Swigger, or Swagger, sorry. How you doing? Good to have you here. Hi, Tina. Tina Sparkles. Hi, Jen A. How are you? You guys are amazing. Four. I'll get to that in a second here, Corrance. I saw that just come through. Corey, I do need to talk to you before the end of the weekend because I do need to get the November schedule up and just confirm everything with you. And I've been kind of lazy on that lately. Hey, Manuel, how you doing, man? You know what? I am going to approach once I get a look at the schedule for November with Corey. I am going to see if David Politis will come back on the show and make things entertaining with us again to talk about some of these stories that are going on. And we'll start the version. All right. Glass. Can anybody actually ever clean glasses? Doesn't matter if you blow on them, you spray on them, or whatever. Still these streaks on there. What are my thoughts on dreams? I think they take you somewhere unknown. I think they all have meaning. I wish I remembered most of mine. Thoughts on quantum energy and numbers? I really don't know. To be blunt. Numbers are weird. There's something to them. There's patterns there. I haven't figured out what it is yet. I just haven't. All right, time to get the verification codes ready, people, because we are about to verify something fierce here. Yeah, Varla Ventura, by the way, tomorrow night. Varla Ventura. So we're going to transfer this. And your verification code for tonight, people, your 6-digit verification code is 979827. That's 979827. Verify wisely, space travelers, because we don't want you getting lost in the shuffle. And Bill Wilson, yes, I do want to hear your story about your experience with the spirit board. And please drive safe, man. Please drive safe. You know what? I was thinking that we should probably try and get Demi Lovato. See if she would. Never know. Have to find her publicist. Yeah, I will never have Stephen Greer on this show, so he will not come on. If we were blessed enough to get her, I would not bring him on. I did a 2.5-hour interview on a 23-second video. I could get more than 10 minutes out of her. I would love to, Manuel. The problem is trying to find someone who will talk about that publicly, that has some credibility. That's the dangers of doing a show like that and just bringing anybody on, is you have to be very careful with the information. Otherwise, it can make you look really bad really fast. Hey, there's third phase of moon. Look at those handsome guys, Brett and Blake. Fantastic hair on both of them. I know you guys are just like me. You want to see some goatees happening there, full-on beards. I know I do. Totally do. Yeah, Greer asked for money. He asked for the questions up front. Before he went on, I had to provide him with our audience attendance per show, male versus female, which I didn't mind doing. But when it got to wanting money and asking for the questions up front, I just said absolutely not interested. Remember, guys, if you guys have any people that you want to request, that goes to Corrance, the booking guy. Just send him a quick email at bookings@spacedoutradio.net, bookings@spacedoutradio.net, and he will be able to try and track them down. Bruce Maccabee, I haven't had him on the air in about 5 years. That'd be a good one, actually. That'd be a real good one. Yeah, third phase. Give me about 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Done. Hi, gorgeous Teresa. How's your hair? You got beautiful hair. I know because I've seen it. Commonwealth Andrew, what's going on, man? What's going on, brother? Major Lee, I don't know if you heard my shout out earlier to you about the super chat. Thank you so much, my friend. And yeah, I think we good. All right, everyone, I'm going to shut things down here for the night because I apparently have to take a phone call from a couple of cool dudes from Hawaii who have fantastic hair. Still need beards, though. And I am going to got to get up in the morning, take my boy to school. And so I got a long day tomorrow, but I will I appreciate each and every one of you coming on in and hanging out with us. We really do appreciate the love. And tomorrow night, Varla Ventura, Spooky Haunted Stories. You know, we love our Varla around here. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and we're all over Facebook. Let's give a quick shout out before we end the night to our new subscribers to our YouTube channel. So let's say hello to Mary M., Matthias, and Andy. Thank you. Appreciate you guys coming on in. And yeah, otherwise, we're good. We are great. And we're going to say goodnight. Thank you to the super chatters tonight. Bill Wilson, Lee Bodge, Zoe Buttercup, and Fapster. I love you guys, and thank you so much for making it another worthwhile, entertaining night. We'll do it all again.